Chapter 86. Yi Qinghan's eyes were like torches as a cold light flashed through his eyes. The 7-foot heavy spear in his hand could freeze a person's heart. Qin Ying's expression was solemn. He didn't think that Yi Qinghan would actually fall out with him over a blind person. He didn't know what to do for a moment.
What?
You want to fight me? Qin Ying, I'll say the ugly words first. If you obediently stop cooperating with me, I might even give you some benefits in the future for the sake of my son. Otherwise, let's see if I can destroy both of you. Yi Qinghan warned coldly. Mr. Yi, why do you have to do this? Even if Qin Shi Huang's talent is extraordinary, so what? In the end, he's still a blind person. Is his talent better than Haren's? Is his potential even greater? Qin Ying disdainfully retorted. Yi Qinghan sneered, speechless. If Qin Haren's trash talent could be compared to the zither immortal scarlet demon physique, then that would be too laughable. Qin Haren's talent wasn't even fit to carry Qin Shi Huang's shoes. I have no fate with him. Since you think Qin Haren still has value in nurturing, then bring Yi Mingxi and the others here. With your speed, you should be able to return by tomorrow morning. Yi Qinghan didn't want to say more. Qin Ying was helpless. He really didn't dare to fall out with Yi Qinghan right now. Yi Qinghan was too strange in his heart. Perhaps it was the premonition of this old fox that he didn't dare to offend? All right, my Qin clan is willing to be friends with Mr. Yi. Today, this old man was impulsive. In order to express my apologies, I'll bring Yi Mingxi and the others here. Qin Ying bitterly smiled and turned to leave with Qin Haren. Leave Qin Haren behind. Yi Qinghan looked disdainfully at everyone, his will reaching the heavens. Grandfather, I don't want to stay. Qin Haren's face was deathly pale as he begged in a low voice. Haren, you stay. Perhaps you can have a chat. Qin Ying said in a low voice. Since Qin Ying had spoken, Qin Haren did not dare to disobey. He could only watch as Qin Ying soared into the sky and disappeared without a trace. The energy in the private courtyard was a bit eerie. Qin Haren couldn't sit still and kept glancing at the Qin Emperor and Yi Qinghan. Qin Haren, if you dare to run around, I will break your legs. Yi Qinghan looked at Qin Haren with disdain. He couldn't help but feel speechless at Qin Ying's eyes. This kind of trash could actually be compared to the immortal zither crimson demon physique. For Qin Haren, he actually used Qin Huang as a scapegoat. Yi Qinghan, don't go too far. Qin Haren was dissatisfied with Yi Qinghan's arrogant attitude. What can you do if I go overboard? Yi Qinghan asked disdainfully. Qin Haren was speechless. Qin Shi Huang's face was flushed red. At this moment, it was hard to tell whether she was happy or sad. She had no status in the Qin clan, but in the eyes of Yi Qinghan, he was willing to use a 5th-grade martial technique to buy her. This was the difference. My son, in the future, no one can make you kneel or order you. Do you understand? Yi Qinghan said coldly. I understand, master. Qin Shi Huang nodded solemnly. He was extremely happy. Carry these 4 swords on your back and never let them leave your body. Yi Qinghan gave the 4th-grade spiritual sword set to Qin Shi Huang. These 4 swords were priceless. They were built with a top-grade spiritual array, allowing people to achieve twice the result with half the effort. Thank you, master. Qin Shi Huang was extremely respectful. His heart was completely leaning towards Yi Qinghan and not the Qin clan. Go and find Lu Outyan. Tell him that I want to talk business with him. Yi Qinghan looked at the parrot and said indifferently. Xiao, the parrot didn't say anything and disappeared into the night sky. Qin Shi Huang returned to his room alone to cultivate. Only Yi Qinghan and Qin Haren were left staring at each other. In the end, Qin Haren didn't have enough momentum and could only hide to the side, staying far away from Yi Qinghan. After the time it takes for an incense stick to burn, Lu Outyan knew that Yi Qinghan wanted to talk business with him. He didn't even have time to wear his shoes and directly rushed out of the relay station, heading straight for the courtyard. Ha ha ha, brother Qinghan, Outyan knew that you wanted to talk business with me. I'm so happy that I dressed too impolitely. Please don't take offense. Lu Outyan laughed and stepped into the courtyard. He couldn't help but feel curious when he saw that Qin Haoren was also here. Yi Qinghan smiled indifferently. He chose to talk business with Lu Outyen because he saw that Lu Outyen was smart enough. He knew that this kind of person wouldn't make a wrong decision. So Brother Qin is also here. You guys are? Lu Outyen asked in surprise. Cough, cough. So it's Brother Lu. I'm here. Qin Haoren was embarrassed. He coughed dryly and wanted to explain. However, Yi Qinghan suddenly exploded and punched the back of his head. Bang! Qin Haoren fell to the ground. He didn't even have time to make a sound before he was knocked unconscious by Yi Qinghan.
Lu Outyen.
Brother Yi, what are you doing? Lu Outyen broke out in cold sweat. Yi Qinghan was definitely the first person to use such a violent method to treat a direct descendant of the Qin clan. Nothing much. Just let him sleep for a while, Yi Qinghan said indifferently. He stepped into the pavilion and gestured for Lu Outyen to sit down. The two sat opposite each other. Lu Outyen impatiently asked, Brother Yi, what kind of business do you want to talk about with me? It's very simple for you. Help me protect 3 people, 3 women. It's a very simple job. However, the reward I'll give you is something you can't even dream of. Yi Qinghan said indifferently. Protect 3 women?
Who are they?
Lu Outyen didn't ask about the reward. This was where he was smart. He felt that Yi Qinghan wasn't simple. Thus, it would be better to be on good terms with him than to have a one-time reward. My mother, my sister, and a personal maid named Jian Qinxua. Protect them for 3 years, and I'll give you a grade 5 martial technique. Yi Qinghan said in a deep voice. The courtyard was deathly silent. Lu Outyen was stunned by a grade 5 martial technique. It wasn't that he wasn't calm, but that he couldn't calm down. There wasn't a grade 5 martial technique in the entire All Falling Star. A grade 5 martial technique was enough to make ancient Lulan a peerless empire and unify the entire Owl Falling Star. What did you say? Grade 5 martial technique? Just to protect them for 3 years? Lu Outyen couldn't understand and couldn't believe it. Yes, you didn't hear wrong. It's a grade 5 martial technique. You use a sword? Yi Qinghan asked in a low voice. Yes, I use a sword. But why did you choose me? With this kind of reward, you can find experts in the 4th step of the Grotto Heaven realm, or even the Fate Palace realm, right? Lu Outyen couldn't react in time and asked excitedly. I looked for you because you're a smart person. From the moment you appeared, I've been observing you. You have ancient Lulan as your backing. No one would be willing to attack ancient Lulan's crown prince's residence for 3 women's lives. Secondly, you're a cautious person. You won't be rash and greedy like others. Thirdly, I feel that you're a person I can get along with. Maybe we'll be friends in the future, Yi Qinghan replied in a low voice. Lu Outyen took a deep breath and swallowed his saliva. His hands were trembling. A grade 5 martial technique was too attractive to him. Good. Thank you, Brother Yi, for thinking so highly of me. I'm not a greedy person. With a grade 5 martial technique, I have the confidence to step into the endless universe. There's no need to rely on greed to gain glory. As for your mother and sister's safety, I guarantee that no one will harm them. Their status in the Crown Prince's residence is the same as mine, Lu Outyen stood up and guaranteed. It seems like you trust me a lot. Then you don't mind giving your sea of consciousness to me for a moment, right? I'll pass the memories of the martial technique to you. Yi Qinghan stared at Lu Outyen and asked in a low voice. Lu Outyen's breathing stagnated. Normally, cultivators wouldn't give their sea of consciousness to others unless they had a special trust. Giving one's sea of consciousness to others was equivalent to giving one's life to others. The two looked at each other and remained silent for a long time. Lu Outyen struggled for a while and decided to take a risk. This was the respect between experts. People like Yi Qinghan disdained to play tricks. No problem. But before that, I'll make a vow. I, Lu Outyen, will fulfill my promise to Brother Yi and protect Brother Ye's mother and sister. If I go against my vow, my Tao heart will shatter and I'll fall into hell, never to rise again. Lu Outyen raised his hand and made the vow. He triggered the power of the heaven and earth contract, causing a ray of light to flash and rush into a sea of consciousness. Yi Qinghan nodded his head in satisfaction. He passed the memories of the great cycle sword technique to Lu Aotian. However, he didn't pass on his cultivation experience. Even if Lu Aotian's talent wasn't bad, he would still need 3 to 5 years to achieve results. By that time, he wouldn't need to rely on others anymore. A memory that didn't belong to Lu Aotian flowed out from a sea of consciousness. He saw an illusory figure continuously cultivating a terrifying sword technique in a sea of consciousness. It triggered the phenomenon of the universe, piercing through the blue dome of heaven with a single sword strike, cutting through the 9 heavens, reversing the universe, and evolving an illusory reincarnation grand Tao. The heaven and earth were filled with corpses and bones. He couldn't help but feel apprehensive. What a powerful sword technique. It actually has the aura of reincarnation. No wonder it's called the Great Cycle Sword Technique. Lu Aotian was incomparably excited. Many thanks for Brother Ye's generous gift. I'll remember this favor. I'll entrust my life to you in the future. Lu Aotian cupped his fist and said, "No need to thank me. This martial technique is useless to me. There's no harm in giving it to you as a reward," Yi Qinghan said indifferently. He glanced at the unconscious Qin Haoren and reminded him, "I advise Brother Lu not to expose this before you reach the 4th sword of the Great Cycle Sword Technique. This includes your clansman and Emperor Father. Otherwise, you'll bring a fatal disaster to yourself." Many thanks for Brother Ye's reminder. Today's matter, only the heavens and earth, only you and I will know. It will definitely not reach the ears of a third person. Lu Aotian's eyes shone with a different kind of light. No one knew the value of a 5th-grade martial technique better than him.
Go.
Come pick him up tomorrow morning. After Yi Qinghan sent Lu Aotian off, he tied Qin Haoren up and threw him to the side. He returned to his room to cultivate. He was preparing to create a 5th-grade martial technique that belonged to him. He was also preparing for tomorrow's auction. He wanted to obtain some treasures that were suitable for him. In the middle of the night, Qin Haoren woke up from the cold. He discovered that his qi sea was sealed and his body was tied up like a dumpling. He was hung in the pavilion. His face was ashen. His hatred for Yi Qinghan had reached its peak. "Yi Qinghan, don't give me a chance. Otherwise, I'll make you wish you were dead." Qin Haoren roared in his heart. The veins on his body bulged. A gust of cold wind blew past, causing his body to shiver. Chapter 87. It was a cold autumn morning. Frost covered the ground with a white veil. Qin Haoren's qi sea was sealed. He could not circulate his ethereal force to warm himself up. His body was shivering, his face was pale, and his lips were turning purple. "Hey, young man, you're quite angry. Why don't you come in and have a seat in such cold weather?" The parrot ran into the courtyard and looked at Qin Haoren. Qin Haoren exhaled a mouthful of white mist and stared at the parrot ferociously. He finally realized how despicable the parrot was. "Yi Qinghan, you despicable man, you'll get your retribution. I will pay for the humiliation I suffered today." Qin Haoren roared and struggled crazily. His wrists were bleeding from the rope. "Idiot, you only know how to shout. Are you cold now? Shall I set you on fire to warm you up?" The parrot said with disdain. Qin Haoren gritted his teeth. He was cold and angry. The anger in his eyes almost burned the sky. He was the eldest son of the Qin family. Since when had he been humiliated like this? At this moment, Qin Shi Huang walked out like a snow lotus blooming in winter. She was elegant, holy, and fairy-like. Since she was young, she was asked by Qining to show up as a boy. He did not allow her to dress as a girl or reveal her identity. Qin Shi Huang compromised in order to gain some familial affection. Unfortunately, what she got in return was not familial affection, but greedy demands. Yi Qinghan made her feel safe. It was the first time she wore female clothes that she had prepared for more than a year. She looked so fresh and natural. "Despicable woman. You ungrateful wretch. The Qin family raised you. You didn't even say a word when you saw your own brother being hung here. Are you still human? Qin Haoren scolded angrily. You're even more shameless than me. Why didn't you tell her that you're her brother when you asked her to kneel down? You're really asking for a beating. The parrot was furious. It finally found someone more shameless than it. However, it was not happy at all. Instead, it got even angrier.
Whoosh.
It spat out a mouthful of fire and drowned Qin Haoren. Qin Haoren finally understood what it was like to be on fire and ice. 1 second he was frozen to death, and the next second he was burned by fire. A shrill scream pierced through the sky and reached the depths of the universe. Countless green birds were startled and flew away. Serves you right.
Slut.
Anyone who is more slutty than me should die. The parrot was indignant. It wanted to spit out another mouthful of fire, but it was stopped by Qin Shi Huang. Divine bird, forget it. After all, he is the eldest son of the Qin clan. If you burn him to death, the Qin clan will not let you off. Qin Huang said gently. His voice was even more beautiful than the sound of the zither.
Bang.
The rope that bound Qin Haoren was burned off, and he fell from the sky. His body twitched as he fell, and the burnt smell spread far and wide. The parrot looked at Qin Haoren, who was still twitching and screaming, and said disdainfully, "Little bastard, if you dare to spout any more nonsense, I'll turn you into a barbecue." Yi Qinghan walked out of the room and took a look at the miserable Qin Haoren. He merely smiled coldly and did not blame him. Seeing that the Qin emperor looked so otherworldly despite being a woman, he nodded and said, "Be yourself in the future." "Yes, master." The Qin emperor smiled, causing the world to lose its color, as if flowers were blooming in spring. The sky gradually brightened, but Qining still had not arrived. Yi Qinghan glanced at Qin Haoren coldly, causing him to feel as if he had fallen into an ice cave. Lu Outyen brought 2 powerful Dao protectors to pick up Qin Haoren early in the morning. He was still in a state of excitement. "Brother Yi, I'm here. When can you pick him up?" Lu Outyen saw the miserable Qin Haoren the moment he entered the room. His heart trembled. He knew that he must not offend Yi Qinghan. Otherwise, he might end up worse than Qin Haoren. "Very soon. I believe Qining will not disappoint me." Yi Qinghan was incomparably cold. A cold aura gushed out from his eyes and froze the surroundings. As expected, Qining personally drove a chariot formed by a 3rd-grade flying demonic beast, the bloodthirsty eagle, across the sky. He traveled 10,000 miles in a single day and used a single night to rush to Flaming Cloud City. It seemed like he still had a high opinion of Qin Haoren. Yi Qinghan raised his eyes and looked at the sky. He saw the bloodthirsty eagle streaking across the sky as fast as lightning, wanting to break through the shackles. He took a deep breath and broke Qin Haoren's sealed Qi with a snap of his finger. He said coldly, "Change your clothes and tidy yourself up before coming out." Qin Haoren struggled to stand up. He looked at Yi Qinghan, the parrot, and the Qin emperor with a venomous expression. He wished he could devour their flesh and blood. However, he didn't dare to say anything now. He rushed into a room and quickly changed his clothes. He washed his burnt face and walked out in a panic. When he saw Qining descending on the flying chariot, he was so excited that he almost cried. Yi Mingxi knew that she would be able to see Yi Qinghan today. She was even more excited. She stretched out her little head and looked around in the sky. The moment she landed on the ground, she threw herself at him. "Brother, I missed you so much." Yi Mingxi's body was like a sharp sword as she sped past the courtyard. It was as if she was reversing time. An afterimage flashed past the courtyard, and in the blink of an eye, she threw herself into Yi Qinghan's embrace. Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. They couldn't help but marvel at her fast speed. Looking closely, they saw that she was only a 5 or 6-year-old little girl. They were even more shocked. Bitter Sea Stage. 5-year-old Bitter Sea Stage. Behind Lu Outyen, old Shue's eyes flashed, and he almost fell to the ground. "What?" 5-year-old Bitter Sea Stage. Lu Outyen's eyes were filled with suspicion. Looking at Yi Mingxi, he suddenly felt that he had lived on a dog's body for the past 20 years. Oh, little master, you only have master in your eyes. Can't you see that this divine bird is also here? The parrot had a strange smile on its face. It opened its wings and made a hugging posture. Ha ha ha, divine bird hug. Yi Mingxi was extremely happy. She reached out and hugged the parrot. She discovered that the parrot had become as fat as a ball. Its body was about the same size as her. She couldn't help but dislike it. Divine bird, how did you become so fat? Cough cough, I'm on a diet. In half a year, I'll be a mighty, divine bird. The parrot laughed embarrassedly. Yi Qinghan looked at the pair of buffoons and smiled gently. He walked towards the door and personally welcomed Wang Shi. Mother, how are you doing in the Qin family? Yi Qinghan gave Wang Shi a hug. Looking at her, who was still as old as before, his heart couldn't help but ache. He didn't expect that he couldn't buy the face restoration pill on Alfal Star. Good, good. The Qin family is very good to us. As long as you are safe, Mother can rest assured. Wang Shi looked at Yi Qinghan. She couldn't get enough of him. A mother would be worried when a son travels 1,000 miles. No matter how strong Yi Qinghan became, Wang Shi's worry would only become stronger. Yi Qinghan felt Wang Shi's worry and felt warmth in his heart. He held Wang Shi's withered hand and looked at Jian Qinxue. He smiled and said, Qinxue, I'll have to trouble you to take care of me these days. You're welcome. It's what I should do. Moreover, Meng Shi and I are fated to be together. I'm very happy with her, and I've improved very quickly. Now that I've broken into the bitter sea realm, I should thank her. Jian Qinxue smiled faintly. Qining had a helpless expression. He was very unwilling to terminate the cooperation with Yi Qinghan. Especially when he saw Lu Outyan coming to take over, he felt even more pained. When he looked at Qin Shihuang again, his eyes flashed with gentleness. My son, I've wronged you all these years. The Qin family has wronged you. I hope you won't take it to heart. I've thought about it all night. After all, I was wrong all these years. I'm willing to make up for it. Therefore, I've decided to give you 40% of the property rights of the Lingbao Pavilion. From now on, Qining said seriously. Great-grandfather. Qin Haoran's expression changed drastically. He was extremely unwilling and wanted to stop him. Shut up. You can't change my decision. Qining scolded coldly. However, Yi Qinghan did not buy it. He did not care about the property of the Lingbao Pavilion. There's no need. Don't forget that my son has already been bought out by me. It has nothing to do with the Qin family. I'll make up for the lack of childhood. You don't have to worry about it. Yi Qinghan coldly rejected Qin Ying's goodwill. Mr. Yi? Qin Ying's expression did not change. He did not expect Yi Qinghan to be so resolute. There's nothing more to say. You can leave now. We're going to attend the auction. Yi Qinghan ordered them to leave coldly. He then said to Lu Outyan and the rest, let's go together. Let's see what's going to be auctioned this year that attracted so many powerhouses. Mr. Yi, be careful. I heard that there are a few Fate Palace realm powerhouses here.
I'll take my leave now.
Qining was helpless. He could only slowly make up for it and change Yi Qinghan's attitude towards him. He kindly reminded Yi Qinghan and led the unwilling Qin Haoran out of the courtyard. Burning Blood, Bitter Ocean, Heavenly Grotto, Fate Palace, Dao Sovereign. Each step was a different level. There were no Dao Sovereigns on Alfal, and even Fate Palaces were few and far between. They might not even appear once in a few years. So many people on Alfal had forgotten about the existence of Fate Palaces. Yi Qinghan frowned. Even Paradise Realm powerhouses were difficult for him, let alone Fate Palace Realm powerhouses. Don't worry, Brother Yi. Our Lulan ancestor is also a Fate Palace Realm powerhouse. He won't act recklessly. Let's go. Lu Outyan said confidently. Yi Qinghan nodded. He was thinking about how to survive a Fate Palace Realm powerhouse in the most dangerous situation. The group of people walked towards the auction. With the Lulan ancestor leading the way, they were unobstructed. The auction house was not only guarded by the auction house's powerhouses, there was also a large group of Fire Qilin army outside. Everyone who could enter the auction house was either rich or respectable. Without 100,000 lower spiritual crystals, they wouldn't even be able to enter. Lu Outyen had his own private room. Yi Qinghan didn't want to reveal his identity, so he entered the private room with them. The auction house was at least a few thousand square meters. There were 4 floors that surrounded a large hall. It was like a coliseum. There were many arrays around it. Anyone who dared to act recklessly here would be killed. As soon as Yi Qinghan entered the auction house, he noticed a few faint soul auras. They were all on the 4th floor. He thought to himself, 5 Fate Palace Realm powerhouses. There might be more. I wonder what level they are at. Yi Qinghan didn't dare to spread out his spiritual sense to approach the 4th floor. He was very cautious. Looking at the large group of Bitter Sea Realm powerhouses sitting in the hall, he knew that treasures would be born today. Lu Ning was alone. She was unruly and unruly. Her cold appearance made people afraid to approach her. Only a few daring playboys wanted to get close, but they were stopped by the Paradise Realm elders. Lu Ning didn't bother to communicate with others and went straight to the 4th floor. The auction house staff didn't dare to stop her. It seemed that they already knew her identity. Chapter 88. There was a sea of people in the auction house. No one dared to bully others here. If they couldn't get a VIP room, they had to stay in the hall. Even those in the Grotto Heaven realm had to behave themselves. Otherwise, they would be suppressed by those in the Fate Palace realm. All the families in the Owl Fall Star that were above the 3rd rank were mobilized. In the end, the auction house had to tear down a wall and double the space inside. Only then could they squeeze in 1,000 people. Among these 1,000-odd people, even the smallest family property was above 10,000 middle grade. If they did not have such strength, they would only be spending the entrance ticket to watch the show. Lu Outyen and Yi Qinghan sat in front of the window and looked at the people in the hall calmly. They had seen such a big event before, especially Yi Qinghan. He had seen more exaggerated auctions than this one countless times. Brother Yi, it seems like you also want to buy something good. If you don't have enough spirit crystals, you can ask me to repay your kindness. Lu Outyen suppressed his excitement and said in a low voice, Okay, I still have some spirit crystals with me. If I don't have enough, I will ask you. Yi Qinghan said in a serious voice. Yi Qinghan also wanted the ancient dragon bone. This bone could be fused with the arms and condensed into a dragon bone arm. It was comparable to a 5th-grade combat weapon. If there were enough materials, it could even be fused with every corner of the body. Even if he was in the Bitter Sea Realm, Fate Palace Realm would not be able to do anything to him. Unfortunately, Lu Ning was here for the ancient dragon bone. The spirit crystals she had could probably buy the entire Owl Fall Star. With Yi Qinghan's current strength, it was impossible for him to win. Lu Ning went up to the 4th floor. A few old monsters looked at her and stood up one after another. They wanted to make friends with the princess of the Lu family. Sit down. Lu Ning's cold eyes made them stay away. The auction officially begins. Other than bidding, no one is allowed to make a racket. Otherwise, you will be expelled from the auction. A voice filled with vicissitudes of life resounded in the auction house. It was so penetrating that it seemed to ring in everyone's ears. Yi Qinghan's eyes were sharp as he looked at the old man standing in front of the hall. He was dressed in white and emitted a powerful aura. He was in the 3rd step of the Grotto Heaven realm and was comparable to Qi. Seems like the auction house's strength isn't inferior to the Qin clan. Lu Outyen said in a low voice. No one would reveal all of their resources. The fact that the auction house is able to send a 3rd-step Grotto Heaven realm powerhouse to host the auction means that they must have a Life Palace powerhouse, Yi Qinghan said in a low voice. In the room, Lady Wang looked at Qin Shi Huang. The more she looked at him, the more satisfied she was. Yi Mingxi and Qin Shi Huang were about the same age, so they got along well quickly. Jian Qinxue also took pity on Qin Shi Huang, which gave Qin Shi Huang the kinship and friendship that he dreamed of. The parrot had a covetous look on its face. Its big eyes were fixed on the backstage of the auction house, and its little claws were trembling nonstop. "Master, I found a treasure," the parrot said excitedly. "What kind of treasure?" Yi Qinghan couldn't help but raise his eyebrows as he looked at the excited parrot. "Demon God fruit.
Oh my god.
I'm going to be rich. This fruit can allow me to instantly evolve to the grotto, heaven realm. I'm going to eat it." The parrot was so excited that it rushed out of the private room without asking for Yi Qinghan's permission. It quickly disappeared into the crowd. Yi Qinghan frowned. He was a little annoyed by the parrot's impulsiveness. The demon god fruit was indeed precious. It was a treasure to the demon beasts. It was worth 100,000 mid-grade spiritual crystals, and there was no market for it. However, with so many powerhouses watching, it would be difficult to get it. It might even cause a disaster. Yi Qinghan couldn't help but worry about the bastard parrot. However, the parrot had already flown away. No one would care about the whereabouts of a bird. The auction begins. Let's welcome our auction house's most beautiful fifth-grade auctioneer, Huang Xiaoming. The old man hosting the auction blushed. Apparently, he was one of Huang Xiaoming's followers.
Wow.
Huang Xiaoming actually came to auction in person. The 10 mid-grade spiritual crystals were worth it. Yes, it was indeed worth it. There was an uproar in the hall. Even the powerhouses at the peak of the grotto heaven realm couldn't suppress it. Many people in the private rooms directly pushed open the doors and came out to make a fuss. Yi Qinghan raised his eyebrows and looked at the auction stage. He saw a tall and voluptuous beauty walking out. She was indeed a peerless beauty. Coupled with her hot body, seductive eyes, and the fact that she was a fifth-grade auctioneer, it was worth it for so many people to go crazy over her.
Wow, beautiful sister.
Yi Mingxi stretched her head and leaned against the window. She looked curiously at Huang Xiaoming, who was wearing a translucent battle robe. How beautiful! Is she more beautiful than Sister Xue? Jian Qinxue flipped her hair and said proudly, "Hee, they are all very beautiful. However, I think Sister Huang is the most beautiful. You don't have any impurities. You are very warm." Yi Mingxi was a child after all. She didn't know how to lie and spoke the truth. Jian Qinxue looked at Qin Shi Huang. Qin Shi Huang hadn't grown up yet. She was like a budding flower bud. She was so beautiful that it made people feel that she was bland. Jian Qinxue walked to the window and saw Huang Xiaoming's appearance clearly. She was indeed flawless and couldn't be picky. Yi Qinghan smiled indifferently. This kind of woman should be judged by men. He didn't expect Yi Mingxi and Jian Qinxue to be the ones to talk about her. Huang Xiaoming's appearance was more charming and enchanting. Jian Qinxue, on the other hand, was pure like snow. One had a hot body, and the other was seductive and reserved. They were evenly matched. Qin Shi Huang smiled and didn't stand up. She couldn't see even if she was near the window. She could only extend her divine sense outside the window and shroud Huang Xiaoming. She was also stunned by her hot body. "Thank you for your compliments. Huang Xiaoming is very polite." Huang Xiaoming bowed slightly. The audience was quiet. Her crisp voice was like an oriole flying out of the valley. It was extremely pleasing to the ears. No one wanted to disturb her. "Today, I will personally auction 108 treasures. I hope everyone will participate. I have decided to accept the invitation of 3 customers for dinner at the end of the auction," Huang Xiaoming continued. "Which 3? What kind of people are qualified? Goddess, please explain." "That's right. Goddess, you have to be fair. You can't just take care of the strong and ignore us, the younger generation." The crowd went crazy. Everyone wanted to get close to her and have dinner with the only 5th grade's goddess on Alfal planet. At this moment, even the Life Palace mirror on the 4th floor was moved. Only Lu Ning sneered and was extremely disdainful. The first person is the one who paid the most money in today's auction. No matter how many treasures he bought, as long as he paid the most money, it's fine. What else? The second person is the one who knows the best. Among these 108 treasures, there is one that I like the most. I think it has the highest value, but it seems to be very practical. Perhaps there aren't many people bidding for it. If there is anyone who has a good eye and buys it, I'll treat him or her to supper tonight." Huang Xiaoming was indeed a fifth-grade auctioneer. The more ordinary a treasure was, the more people would fight over it. They might even find a treasure. In this area, the price of the treasures might increase by 20 to 30%. What about the third person? The third person is naturally the one who bought the final treasure. Let's cut to the chase and get back to the topic. The first auction item is a fourth-grade spiritual sword set. It's small and light, suitable for women. It has a built-in spirit-gathering formation that can change a cultivator's talent and qualifications. Cultivation will be twice the result with half the effort. This spiritual sword set is a must-have for chasing beauties. No one can resist the temptation of a spiritual sword set. If you have a goddess in your heart but can't get her, buy it. It can make your dreams come true. Huang Xiaoming took out 4 exquisite spiritual swords from a slender metal box. They were exactly the same as the spiritual swords Yi Qinghan obtained. They must have been made by the same person. As soon as the spiritual swords appeared, the surrounding spiritual qi became extremely rich. It attracted the exclamations and cheers of many women. The first treasure raised the mood to a climax. Yi Qinghan could not help but be curious. Who made this spiritual sword set? The other party should be a woman who is extremely proficient in the art of refining. He did not expect such a person to exist on Alfal planet. The starting bid for this fourth-grade spiritual sword set is 2,000 mid-grade spiritual crystals. Each bid increment must be no less than 100 mid-grade spiritual crystals. It's equivalent to 500 mid-grade spiritual crystals for a spiritual sword. It's very cheap. Huang Xiaoming's eyes sparkled like autumn waters, causing countless men to go crazy. This spiritual sword set is interesting. I'll buy it for Meng Shi as a greeting gift, Lu Outyan said calmly. Yi Qinghan did not refuse. Although this item was extremely valuable, not many people were willing to spend so many mid-grade spiritual crystals to please a woman. Moreover, compared to the fifth-grade sword technique, the Great Reincarnation Sword technique, it was a far cry. I'll pay 2,500 mid-grade spiritual crystals. Just as Huang Xiaoming finished speaking, someone called out a high price. I'll pay 2,600. I'll pay 3,000. Everyone called out crazily. Some people even raised the price by 500 to 600 mid-grade spiritual crystals at once, as if the spiritual crystals were worthless. Lu Outyan looked at the crowd, who kept raising the price like mad dogs. He could not help but frown. If this continued, the price would probably rise to tens of thousands. I'll pay 8,000 mid-grade spiritual crystals, Lu Outyan said in a low voice. He increased the price by 5,000 mid-grade spiritual crystals at once, which shocked many people into silence. The hall also quieted down. 8,000 mid-grade spiritual crystals was not a small amount. Brother, you promised to give it to me? I beg you, I want it. As long as you give this spiritual sword set to me, I'll agree to anything you say. A coquettish voice was extremely ear-piercing, breaking the silence. Lu Outyan's face darkened. He looked towards the hall and saw a fat man who was as fat as a pig and a delicate and enchanting woman drooling over the spiritual sword set. He could not help but feel bad. This middle-aged man who was as fat as a pig was not an ordinary person. He was a famous local tycoon on Alfal planet, the head of the ancient Shen family, Shen Dian. His cultivation was not very high, but he controlled several spiritual crystal veins. His wealth could rival a country. This man did not have any special hobbies, except for his love of beauty. In order to woo powerful female cultivators, he spent money like water. Until now, who knew how many beautiful girls he had played with? Okay. My little darling, if you like it, I'll buy it. You must remember what you said today. Shen Dian looked at his female companion lecherously. His big hand wandered around her waist dishonestly. He then looked up at Huang Xiaoming and said straightforwardly, I'll pay 15,000 mid-grade spiritual crystals. Lu Outyan's face darkened. This slap was hard for him to accept. He had just promised to buy this level 4 spiritual sword set for Yimingshi. Now, someone came to cause trouble. Chapter 89. Shun Dian had raised the price so much in one go that it far exceeded the price of the 4th grade spiritual sword set. The auction had entered the climax earlier than expected. I bid 18,000 mid-grade spiritual stones. Lu Aotian pondered for a moment and said in a deep voice, 20,000. Shun Dian looked at Lu Aotian's private room with disdain and quickly called out a high price. His Shun family's wealth was comparable to a country's. The reason he stayed in the hall was to flaunt his wealth. 22,000. 25,000. The nouveau riche did not use spiritual stones as rations and went straight to the point. Lu Aotian's face darkened. The empire's royal prestige could not be disgraced. How could he let a family with only money and no strength humiliate him? The Shun family's guards were powerful, but the Shun family's own strength was very weak. There had not been a decent genius in hundreds of years. He disdained and respected such a family. Yi Qinghan shook his head and stopped Lu Aotian from continuing to bid. It was unwise to waste a large number of spiritual stones just for face. Forget it, I appreciate your kindness. This 4th grade spiritual sword set is not worth that much. Besides, I don't need such things to change Meng Shi's physique. Yi Qinghan said lightly. It's okay. I can give this spiritual sword set to Meng Shi. I don't need this spirit-gathering formation. Qin Shi Huang obediently took out the metal sword box on his back and handed it to Yi Mingxi. Yi Mingxi took out the spiritual sword and was reluctant to part with it. Yi Qinghan did not stop her. After all, the zither immortal crimson demon physique was already very terrifying. There was no need for a 4th grade spiritual sword set to change her physique. Jian Qinshue's eyes glowed, but it quickly disappeared. She had benefited a lot from following Yi Qinghan these days. If Yi Qinghan gave her something else, she would feel bad. Is there anyone offering a higher price? If not, this 4th grade spiritual sword set will belong to Master Shin. Huang Xiaoming smiled and was very satisfied with the price. In the end, the spiritual sword set's ownership was settled. Shun Dian got it and got the beauty. This caused some people to be envious and jealous. The second treasure is the 4th grade demon-slaying green dragon saber. It was the weapon of the strongest person in all Falling Star, the Green Dragon Taoist. The Green Dragon Taoist was a second-step powerhouse in the Fate Palace. This monster-slaying Azure Dragon saber still contained Taoist Xing Long's murderous aura. It could kill enemies and intimidate all beasts and spirits. The starting price is 50,000 middle spiritual crystals. Everyone on All Falling Star knew about the Azure Dragon Taoist Master. He was in existence with great merit. He guarded the Demon Valley continent and killed countless ferocious beasts of the Demon Valley continent. He had brought great calamities to All Falling Star several times. If he had not beaten the ferocious beasts of the Demon Valley continent to the point where they could not raise their heads, All Falling Star might have been even more broken. The All Fall Star was divided into 2 continents. One was called the Demon Valley and the other was called the Owl Fall continent. Humans naturally lived on the Owl Fall continent. The powerful beasts lived on the Demon Valley continent, separated by the Demon Valley mountain range. With this as the boundary, they had been separated for thousands of years. So it's the Green Dragon Taoist's demon-slaying Green Dragon Saber. This weapon is so vicious that it's comparable to an ordinary 5th grade saber. It's very difficult for people to use it. That's right. I heard that after the Azure Dragon founder died in battle, this blade went through 4 owners. In the end, all of them died violently and their corpses were left in the wilderness. It was as if there was a curse. Selling it at such a high price, who would buy it? There was a lot of discussion. They all felt that the seller of this weapon was too expensive. Dear Madam Auctioneer, please take out the demon-slaying Green Dragon Saber for us to admire. After all, it's the saber of our Owl Falling Stars hero. If it's authentic and no one is willing to sell it, I'm willing to pay 50,000 for it to be my collection. Shun Dian said arrogantly. A mid-grade green dragon saber that was worth 50,000. He wanted to collect it just like that. As expected of the Shun family's patriarch, who was as rich as a country. Yi Qinghan's eyes lit up. He could not help but be interested in this saber. His heavy manic saber was too eye-catching. Outside of All Falling Star, anyone with a bit of knowledge could recognize it. If the demon-slaying green dragon saber was good, he could consider using it. This saber's vicious aura is too strong. Everyone, be careful. Huang Xiaoming's face was solemn. She turned sideways and gestured for 4 bare-chested men behind her to carry a 2-meter-long black iron box onto the auction stage. The iron box was sealed by an array, but it still exuded a cold and ruthless aura that made people shudder. Yi Qinghan narrowed his eyes and stared at the iron box. Looking at the strenuous appearance of these people, he estimated that the weight of this saber should be about the same as the heavy manic saber, or maybe even heavier. Open the seal. Huang Xiaoming hid far away. Her physical body could not withstand the vicious aura of the green dragon saber. Everyone, back off. A powerful expert of the first step of the Grotto Heaven realm walked out from the backstage of the auction house and shattered the seal outside the iron box with one palm. Boom, whoosh, a gloomy and terrifying cold aura rushed out, breaking through the dome of the auction house and shooting straight into the sky. The ruthless killing intent swept out in all directions and surged out. The people in the hall retreated one after another, their faces pale. Those of the Bitter Sea realm, who were slightly weaker, coughed up blood and were sent flying. Hundreds of existences of the 8th star of the Bitter Sea realm and above knelt on the ground, as if they were facing an ancient demon, unable to resist. The expert of the Grotto Heaven realm also did not feel good. His expression changed slightly, and he mobilized the true qi around his body to protect his soul. He took 3 steps back before he could stabilize himself. Yi Qinghan's eyes flashed, staring at the iron box, his fingertips constantly tapping on the table to ease the excitement in his heart. This saber is not a 4th-grade spirit saber. Even if it was soaked in the blood of countless fierce beasts, it would not be so fierce. And this saber is clearly suppressed by something, otherwise it would be even more terrifying. Yi Qinghan instantly determined that this was not the demon-slaying green dragon saber. Everyone, do you still want to see the true body of the saber? Huang Xiaoming's face was pale. Even if she hid far away, she was still frightened by the cold aura. Look. A hoarse voice exploded in everyone's ears like a clap of thunder, but no one could tell where it came from. Lu Aotian glanced at Yi Qinghan. He did not know that Yi Qinghan used a saber, but he could see that Yi Qinghan was very nervous at the moment, as if he was looking forward to something. He could give me the 5th-grade Great Reincarnation Sword technique so casually. Would he care about this 4th-grade spirit saber? Lu Aotian secretly said to himself, but did not ask. A strong evil aura filled the auction hall. Some people were so shocked that their lips were dry and their eyes were dull. They were all frightened by the Azure Dragon Taoist weapon and did not realize that the power of this saber was far beyond other 4th-grade spirit sabers. Even if this 4th-grade Azure Dragon saber had experienced countless battles, it would not have such an aura. The expert of the Grotto Heaven realm opened the iron box from the side, and an arrogant aura burst out, as if it had experienced thousands of years. The dark saber emitted a cold light, and the shape of the saber was indeed a bit like a dragon. Its aura was restrained, and it was more eye-catching when it was not hidden. It was very ordinary. Other than the gloomy evil aura and the aura of vicissitudes, it was indeed very similar to a 4th-grade spirit saber. However, many people attributed the aura of this saber to the demonic beasts that the Azure Dragon Taoist had killed in the Demon Valley, and did not think too much about it. Yi Qinghan stared at the saber hilt, which was about half a meter long. It was dim without any light, and there was nothing special about it. The saber hilt emitted a faint pressure, which was restrained and pure. Without a strong soul spirit, one would not be able to sense it. Bone of a demonic dragon. The saber hilt is made from the bone of a demonic dragon. This saber is an ancient war weapon, the demonic dragon saber. It might be above the 6th grade. This saber is well concealed by the outer packaging, which is why people misunderstood it as a 4th-grade spirit saber. Yi Qinghan's heartbeat sped up, but his appearance was still calm. Qin Shi Huang lightly plucked a string, and the room was unexpectedly silent. However, Yi Qinghan's body trembled, and his chaotic soul gradually calmed down. Yi Qinghan looked at Qin Shi Huang and pulled her to his side. He whispered, "Can you feel the internal structure of the saber hilt? I can't see through it, but I can feel a very strong pressure from the inside of the saber hilt. It should not be made of ordinary materials. I can feel that it is full of vitality, like the bones of some ancient creatures." Qin Shi Huang said softly. Yi Qinghan nodded. With Qin Shi Huang's confirmation, it seemed like his soul spirit was not wrong. This was indeed the ancient demonic dragon saber. If this saber was auctioned in the Xiaolong region, not to mention 50,000 middle-grade spirit saber, even 500,000 high-grade spirit saber wouldn't be able to buy it. It might even cause supreme experts to fight over it. Brother Yi is interested in this saber? Lu Outyan wanted to do Yi Qinghan a favor and decided to buy it for 50,000 spirit saber for him. Yes, I will buy it. If it is not enough, you can lend it to me. I will compensate you with other things, Yi Qinghan said in a deep voice. Yi Qinghan's words were reasonable because Lu Ning was also interested in this saber. Although she couldn't tell what grade the saber was, she knew that it was not ordinary. Just as everyone was feeling disgusted, an old man walked out from the back of the auction house and sealed the metal box with force. He used an array to seal the box and brought it to the back. The auction starts now. 50,000 middle-grade spirit saber. Each bid must not be lower than 1,000 middle-grade spirit saber. Huang Xiaoming squeezed out a smile and said slowly, "I will keep it. I will pay 50,000 middle-grade spirit saber to comfort the Qinglong Taoist spirit in heaven." Shun Dian pretended to be dignified and said in a deep voice. Chapter 90. Shun Dian pretended to be elegant, making people think that he was in awe of his ancestors. He took the initiative to bid, but he didn't know that he was just trying to attract attention. Lu Ning sat up straight and looked down at the auction house. She said coldly, "I bid 100,000 mid-grade." The clear and cold voice resounded in the auction house, silencing it instantly. Even Shun Dian was stunned. He thought that no one would bid, but someone suddenly jumped out and doubled the price. Shun Dian looked at the fourth floor, but he couldn't see anyone. He only knew that it was a young woman with a pleasant voice. In terms of wealth, Shun Dian had never lost. "I bid 150,000 mid-grade," Shun Dian shouted without hesitation. He didn't know who he was talking to. The crowd couldn't help but gasp. 150,000 mid-grade for a useless saber. She really didn't treat spiritual crystals as money. 200,000 mid-grade. The third voice for the saber appeared, and the bidding was just as crazy. It increased the price by 50,000 at once. Shun Dian was rich, but he was a little stupid. He didn't know what was on the fourth floor. His female companion wasn't stupid. She whispered in his ear, "The Fate Palace mirror is on the fourth floor. Don't provoke it." The Fate Palace mirror was an ancestor of the founding emperor of a country. Their identity, status, and strength could crush the Shen family 10 times over. Fate Palace mirror? Shun Dian trembled. There were only a few of them on Owl Fall Planet. If he offended them, no amount of spiritual crystals would be enough to invite someone of the same level to fight with a Fate Palace mirror. Shun Dian gave up immediately, but Lu Ning wouldn't. Lu Ning raised the price and attracted the attention of the old monsters. They looked at each other and began to talk secretly. A direct descendant from a fifth-rank family should have good taste. Is the Demon Slayer Green Dragon's saber so attractive that she's fighting so crazily for it? Do you have any clues? Ancient Lulan founding ancestor Lu Patian frowned and asked. No, this is indeed the Azure Dragon saber of the Azure Dragon founder. There's nothing special about it. It weighs more than 1,000 pounds and is suitable for a body refiner like the Azure Dragon founder. It's already difficult for us to hold it. Why would we need such a saber? Dong Fengyu of the Eastern Empire shook his head. He felt that this saber wasn't worth so much and wasn't prepared to sell it. Out of the 5 Fate Palaces, 2 of them had already expressed their stance. Lu Ning and Yi Qinghan had fought it out for 500,000 mid-grade Fate Palaces. The one bidding on the second floor seems to be the royal family of Lulan, right? Brother Lu Yu Lulan are also interested in the saber? The first governor of the state capital of Qing, Tang Sheng, looked at the room on the second floor where Lu Patian was fighting with Lu Ning. He was suspicious of Lu Patian. While the 5 Fate Palace realm warriors were discussing, Lu Ning and Yi Qinghan were in a heated battle. However, the amount and speed of the bids were decreasing. They were all guessing how much the other party was willing to pay for the saber. Lu Ning stood up slowly and walked to the corridor. She looked down at the second floor and found the room that was bidding. She saw Yi Qinghan's side profile from the window and realized that Yi Qinghan was also looking at her. His eyes were as calm as still water. She couldn't help but feel surprised when he looked at her, without the disgust between the bidders. He's a stranger. I've never seen him before. He doesn't have any hostility towards me, but why can't I feel any hostility towards him? Lu Ning whispered to herself. Looking at his side profile, her heart began to beat faster. No matter how much she tampered with her memories, she couldn't change the throbbing in the depths of her soul. Although Lu Ning had forgotten about Yi Qinghan, she couldn't forget the persistence of her heart. 600,000. Yi Qinghan's voice was low as he continued to raise the price. Lu Ning hesitated for a moment before shouting out a higher price. She raised the price to 620,000. Can he also discover the wonders of the saber? He's willing to raise the price so high. Judging from his attitude, he's determined to get it. Lu Ning was ready to let go and do Yi Qinghan a favor. 630,000. Yi Qinghan raised the price without hesitation. Lu Ning was silent for a moment and stopped raising the price. Just when everyone thought that the dust had settled, a rough and old voice resounded in the auction house. I'll bid 650,000. Tang Sheng finally broke the silence and called out the highest price. Huang Xiaoming was shocked. The price of 630,000 had exceeded her expectations. She didn't expect a third person to bid for the saber. Moreover, it was a Fate Palace realm. Would Lu Ning give up? 670,000. Lu Ning raised the price without hesitation. 680,000. For the powerhouses and Lu Ning, this amount of spiritual crystals was a lot, but it wasn't enough to hurt their wallets. 690,000. 700,000. Dongfang Yu also raised the price. A fourth person joined in the bidding frenzy. Spiritual crystals were nothing. Yi Qinghan clenched his fists. He didn't expect these old monsters to make a move and raise the price so high. Even if he invested all the 500,000 he borrowed from Lu Outyen, it still wouldn't be enough. Brother Yi, why do you insist on this saber? In my opinion, the price of this saber has already been raised to a very high position. It's not worth it. Lu Outyen looked at the old monsters joining in the bidding and frowned.
You don't have to worry about that.
Just tell me how many spiritual crystals you can borrow. I'll compensate you with rank 5 martial arts techniques. Attack type, speed type, defense type. Pick whatever you want. Yi Qinghan said in a low voice. These rank 5 martial arts techniques couldn't be sold, and he didn't dare to sell them. He could only trade them with Lu Outyen privately. Although the price was low, it was safe. I can withdraw 800,000. Any more and it will cause a deficit in the Lulan treasury. I can't promise any more. Lu Outyen was helpless. With these old monsters raising the price, 800,000 might not be enough. 800,000, Yi Qinghan frowned. He had less than 200,000. With the low-grade spiritual crystals, he could round it up to 1 million. Whether he could buy the ancient devil dragon saber or not depended on this. 1 million mid-grade spiritual crystals. Yi Qinghan shouted. The entire auction house fell silent. Even the Fate Palace elites couldn't help but gasp. 1 million was equivalent to the annual income of an ancient country. Even the ancient Lulan kingdom had to consider for a long time to use such a large amount of money. The Fate Palace realm elites didn't lack money, but money shouldn't be squandered like this. Moreover, they only thought that the saber's value might be high because of Yi Qinghan and Lu Ning's crazy bidding. They wanted to buy it and study it. They could accept a low price, but if the price was too high, wouldn't they go crazy if they bought a piece of junk? Dong Fengyu, Tang Sheng, and the rest looked at Lu Patian, trying to figure out who was in the private room of ancient Lulan. Brother Lu, are you still trying to hide it? Even the emperor of the Lulan kingdom would have to think about it for a long time, right?
Dong Fengyu asked.
I really don't know. If I knew there was something fishy about this saber, would I still be here? I would have bid for it long ago, Lu Patian replied helplessly. Lu Ning clenched her fists. 1 million mid-grade spiritual crystals was not a small amount. The Lu family wasn't a mining company. Moreover, she was here for the ancient dragon bone. She only thought that there was something fishy about the saber and that it might be worth a lot, but she didn't know its true value. If she was wrong and spent 1 million mid-grade spiritual crystals to buy a grade 4 combat saberback to the Xiaolong region, she would be a laughingstock. However, she wasn't willing to give up just like that. She looked at the old monsters behind her and wanted to see what they thought. 1 million isn't a small amount. We have to see if the bidder has so many spiritual crystals. If he doesn't, wouldn't we be cheated? Tang Sheng looked at Huang Xiaoming on the stage and asked her to check if Yi Qinghan's assets could support his bid. The auction house couldn't refuse a request from a Fate Palace realm expert to check the amount of money the bidder had. However, they had to be careful when it came to such a large amount of money. All right, I'll check it myself. The auction is temporarily suspended. Please keep quiet. Huang Xiaoming stared at the crowd and said in a low voice. The crowd was very respectful. Even if they agreed, they were very quiet. However, many of them were guessing the identity of the person in the private room on the second floor. That person was obviously not Lu Outyen. It was impossible for Lu Outyen to pay such a high price for a saber. Huang Xiaoming was dressed in a white robe. She leaped into the air and appeared on the second floor at the door of Yi Qinghan's private room. Knock knock. After 2 crisp knocks on the door, Huang Xiaoming said calmly, "The auction house would like to check if you have sufficient funds. Please open the door for verification. Please forgive us if we've disturbed you." Lu Outyen stood up leisurely. His strong body emitted a faint royal aura. He waved his hand and opened the door. Looking at the peerless rank 5 auctioneer, he performed the royal etiquette and said calmly, "Welcome, Fairy Huang." Huang Xiaoming was stunned when she saw Lu Outyen. When she stepped into the room, she saw a bunch of strangers in the room. They weren't important figures of the royal family. When she saw Yi Qinghan, she was shocked by the vicissitudes of life on his body. When she saw Qin Shi Huang and Jian Qinxue, her eyes were filled with shock. Jian Qinxue was as cold as ice and as pure as a lily. She was extremely noble. As for Qin Shi Huang, Huang Xiaoming felt that she lacked vocabulary. A rank 5 auctioneer with a glib tongue could turn black into white. However, she didn't know how to describe Qin Shi Huang. When she looked at Yi Mingxi, her eyes flashed, and she took 3 steps back. Her eyes were filled with disbelief. A 5-year-old bitter sea realm expert. Oh my god, am I seeing things? Huang Xiaoming was extremely shocked. She couldn't understand why she had heard of such a combination before. Hi, beautiful sister. Yi Mingxi raised her small hand and waved, leaving Huang Xiaoming completely speechless. Cough cough, little sister, hello. Huang Xiaoming took a deep breath and adjusted her state of mind. She looked at Yi Qinghan again and asked seriously, "Sir, are you the one who bid 1 million middle grade?" "Yes, this Qian Kuan ring has 190,000 middle grade pieces. Low grade, and some elixirs can be exchanged for 10,000 middle grade pieces. The Lulan Crown Prince will lend me 800,000 middle grade pieces, which is 1 million. You can check it out." Yi Qinghan threw the Qian Kuan ring to Huang Xiaoming and said calmly, "That's right. I will lend him 800,000 middle grade pieces with my identity as the Lulan Crown Prince. If Yi Qinghan can't take out 1 million middle grade pieces, I'm willing to buy the Azure Dragon Saber for 1 million middle grade pieces." Lu Outyen gritted his teeth and said. Chapter 91. The auction house was eerily quiet. Everyone lifted their heads to look at the second floor, waiting for Huang Xiaoming to appear. They wanted to know if someone was willing to bid 1,000,000 mid-grade spirit stones for the Demon Slayer Azure Dragon Saber. Shen Dian had completely given up. He wanted to buy the Azure Dragon Saber purely for his collection and to flaunt his status. He would never collect the ancient Devil Dragon Saber if he had to pay 1,000,000 for it. However, at this moment, some people had developed a strong interest in the Devil Dragon Saber. Zero Chun was one of them. He was the #1 person among the younger generation and was titled the Ancient Sword King. He wielded the broken dragon saber and had a murderous aura that could withstand the murderous aura of the Devil Dragon Saber. Most importantly, he knew that the bidder was Yi Qinghan. Subconsciously, he felt that the Azure Dragon Saber might be worth a lot and decided to take a gamble. However, Zero Chun and the others might not be the ones who were most interested in the saber. At the corner of the hall, there was a man who was about 1.8 meters tall. He wore a black battle robe and a bamboo hat that covered his waist. He had a cold aura, like a saber that was in deep slumber. Once it was awakened, it would be enough to shatter the mountains and shatter the rivers. He had been sizing up the ancient Devil Dragon Saber from the moment it appeared. He had not participated in the bidding until now, but that did not mean that he would remain silent. Now, all they had to do was wait for Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan was the fiercest when it came to bidding. Once he ran out of money, the ancient Demon Dragon Saber would drop back to 50,000 and bid again. As for Yi Qinghan, he would be treated as a prop to deliberately raise the price. He would then be suppressed by the auction house. Do you really have that many spiritual crystals? Are you kidding us? I don't think so. The people in the private room are either rich or respectable. No one is stupid. If you don't have the money after bidding such a high price, the entire All-Falling Star would be offended. I don't understand. This saber has such a strong murderous aura, and it weighs more than 500 kilograms. Only a Life Palace Realm powerhouse can use it, right? Moreover, even a Life Palace Realm powerhouse can't wield such a weapon. It's not worth that much. Many people were speechless by the price of the Azure Dragon Saber and discussed it softly. In the private room on the second floor, Huang Xiaoming sorted out all of Yi Qinghan's finances. Knowing that he only had 1,000,000 yuan left, she reminded him, "Young Master Yi, if anyone raises the price again, you can't bid anymore. Otherwise, the auction house may take compulsory measures against you." Hold on. You are a grade 5 auctioneer. Help me appraise a peak grade 4 offensive secret technique. Give me a price, and I will continue to raise the price. If you don't have the money, then use a grade 4 secret technique, Yi Qinghan said in a deep voice. He was determined to obtain the Devil Dragon Saber. Top rank 4s. A shocked expression finally appeared on Huang Xiaoming's calm face. If it was a grade 4 secret skill, the starting price would be more than 1,000,000 mid-grade. After all, the secret skills cultivated by the powerful Life Palace level powerhouses were only at the intermediate or beginner grade 4. So far, the highest level secret skill on the Owlfall planet was an advanced grade for secret skill. Mr. Yi, are you sure you have a top grade for secret technique? Are you sure you want to sell it? Huang Xiaoming asked. Black Moon Technique, Mystic Bone Dao Heart, Moon Hook, Heaven Dragon and Earth Tiger. Break Martial 8 Desolates. Borrow the Black Moon's Yin and Yang forces to reach the 9 Serenities and Sea of Qi. Once the Black Moon is unleashed, the enemy will be injured from 1,000 miles away. Yi Qinghan whispered and explained the first part of the Black Moon technique. Every word shocked Huang Xiaoming. Even if an ordinary person knew about this mental cultivation technique, they would find it difficult to understand. It was not a powerful secret technique at all. However, as a grade 5 auctioneer, how could Huang Xiaoming not know a top grade for secret technique? Isn't the Black Moon technique the secret technique of the Xiaolong region's grade 4 sect, the Black Moon sect thousands of years ago? Legend has it that it is a powerful martial technique that can allow one to enter the Dao Lord realm. Unfortunately, the Black Moon sect was uprooted overnight, and the Black Moon technique was lost. Huang Xiaoming was knowledgeable and asked in shock. Yes, it is indeed that secret technique. Appraise it and tell me how much it is worth, Yi Qinghan asked calmly. You are? Huang Xiaoming was extremely shocked. The Black Moon technique had disappeared for thousands of years, and now it had appeared in the hands of a young man. The value of this secret technique far exceeded that of the saber in her heart. Yi Qinghan had actually sold the Black Moon technique for the Demon Dragon saber. Don't ask what you shouldn't ask. Besides, I don't necessarily need to auction this secret technique. You just need to give me a starting price. Yi Qinghan interrupted Huang Xiaoming's words and said coldly. A top-grade 4 secret technique has never appeared in the history of All Falling Star, let alone auctioning it. However, it appeared in Xiaolong region and was auctioned for 50,000 upper spirit crystals, which is equivalent to 5 million middle spirit crystals. This kind of precious secret technique might be even more expensive in Xiaolong region, so the lowest price might be set at more than 4 million. Huang Xiaoming clenched her fists. Her palms were sweaty and she was extremely excited. At this moment, she hoped that someone would bid again and force Yi Qinghan to auction off the Black Moon technique. All right, I understand. Yi Qinghan nodded calmly, indicating that the auction could continue. Huang Xiaoming's heart skipped a beat as she looked at Yi Qinghan's back. Her breasts rose and fell, and the translucent white robe set off her snow-white skin. I'd like to congratulate young master in advance for obtaining my favorite treasure. Supper is on me. Everyone, please do me the honor.
I'll take my leave now.
Huang Xiaoming cupped her fists and said excitedly. Without waiting for Yi Qinghan and the others to reply, Huang Xiaoming ran out of the room. Lu Aotian shrugged and smiled bitterly. I didn't expect to be treated by the supreme goddess of All Falling Star just because of Brother Yi. I'm afraid I'll be the envy of everyone tonight. Yi Qinghan smiled calmly, but his eyes swept across the black-clothed man at the corner of the hall. He was stunned when he saw him and muttered, Yilingyu? He's here too. Yilingyu was an emperor of the same generation as Lu Ning. He had mastered both the sword and the zither, and he was truly invincible among his peers. Back then, Yi Qinghan appreciated his talent and specially gave him some pointers, allowing him to surpass his peers in the sword Dao. He was almost on par with the older generation. Although this person's emotions are stable and he's using a bamboo hat to cover his excited face, it can't hide the fluctuation of his soul. He's also interested in the Devil Dragon saber. Yi Qinghan frowned. He was extremely reluctant to raise the price, or else the Fate Palace realm cultivators would definitely fight for it. Huang Xiaoming was like a hollow valley in the wind, ethereal and ethereal. She tapped the auction stage with the tip of her foot and turned around slowly, causing everyone's hearts to beat faster. I've already checked the number 7 private room. The VIP inside has enough spirit crystals to bid. Now, the price has reached 1 million spirit crystals. To be honest, it has already exceeded the price in Xiaoming's heart. I just don't know if anyone else wants to continue bidding. If not, I'll announce the owner of the Devil Dragon saber. Huang Xiaoming's voice was like an aureole, crisp and pleasant. 1 million mid-grade spiritual crystals, going once. Is there anyone else who wants to continue bidding? Huang Xiaoming's eyes swept across the entire auction hall. She realized that many people were extremely excited. A bid that exceeded 1 million would only appear once in many years. Dongfang Yu and the rest were discussing with each other through telepathy. How about we join forces to get the saber? If there's really a problem, we can discuss it. If there's no problem, we can sell it again. Tang Sheng suggested. I'm afraid that if we increase the price, it'll exceed the bottom line. No one knows how much we'll get. Moreover, I don't think Lu Ning has any intention of giving up. Dongfang Yu hesitated. Let's set the base price at 1.5 million. On average, each person will only get 300,000. What do you think? Tang Sheng seemed to be determined to compete with Yi Qinghan for the Devil Dragon saber. He was going to encourage the Fate Palace realm cultivators to buy the Devil Dragon saber together.
Don't count me in.
Room 7 belongs to my grandson. The people who are bidding must be closely related to the Lulan royal family. If I join forces with you, wouldn't I be scamming my own people? Lu Patian rejected Tang Sheng's suggestion. 1 million going twice. Are there any more bids? Huang Xiaoming asked again. There was dead silence downstairs. Everyone was waiting. More people wanted to watch the fun. Even if they were not bidding, they were excited. As expected, Yilingyu could not take it anymore. His cold voice pierced through everyone's eardrums. I'll bid 1.03 million. Everyone was excited. They did not expect someone to come out of nowhere. It was not a Fate Palace realm cultivator from the 4th floor, nor was it Lu Ning. It was a 4th competitor.
Who is he?
He didn't bid at first, but he's bidding over 1 million. He's not from the Owl Fall planet, so he must be from the Owl Dragon region. Perhaps he knew Lu Ning. Yi Qinghan was silent for a while. Before he could increase the price, Lu Ning had already bid 1.05 million. 1.07 million. Yilingyu said in a deep voice. Lu Ning looked down at the hall and saw Yilingyu. However, Yilingyu was covered by a bamboo hat and a black veil. She could not tell who he was. However, Yilingyu knew Lu Ning. He seemed to know her very well. He increased the price quickly to make her suspect that he would not compromise. That way, she would give up. Lu Ning was not a saber user and knew nothing about sabers. She was bidding based on her intuition. When the price exceeded what she could afford, she would naturally stop bidding. As expected, Lu Ning hesitated. 1.30 million. Tang Sheng had the support of Dongfang Yu and another Fate Palace realm cultivator. He was going to bid 500,000 for the Devil Dragon Saber. His bid caused an uproar. Huang Xiaoming was excited. She knew that Yi Qinghan would never give up. The saber could be sold for 1.5 million. It would break the record for the price of a single treasure on the All-Fall planet. She was the one who set the record. Yilingyu hesitated for a while and bid again. 1.35 million. 1.70 million. Yi Qinghan was impatient. It was reasonable for Yilingyu to bid, but the old men on the 4th floor were gambling. They raised the price by so much. What a bastard.
Wow. Oh my god.
170 million, and it's a mid-grade treasure. The Shin family only has 5 million mid-grade treasures. Fuck. He's too rich. He's too rich. I've learned what it means to be rich and overbearing. This guy is definitely not from the Owlfall planet. He's probably from a big family in the Owlfall region. Lulan is great. With such a rich family on the heaven ranking, ancient Lulan's status will rise. I'm afraid they'll surpass the other empires. Many people looked enviously at the 7th private room. Some female cultivators went crazy and began to move restlessly, hoping to attract Yi Qinghan's attention. Qin Ying's expression was ugly. He knew that Yi Qinghan had a lot of resources that were unimaginable. However, he lost this treasure bowl because he treated Qin Shi Huang badly. He could not help but feel annoyed. It was more disgusting than eating a fly. Qin Haoran's face was filled with viciousness and resentment. He whispered to Qining, "Great-grandfather, since we've already fallen out with Yi Qinghan, why don't we annoy him a bit and raise the price by another 100,000? If we win the bid, we can use the saber to exchange for a better secret skill." Chapter 92. Qin Haoran didn't know what was good for him, so he instigated Qining to make a move. However, Qining wasn't stupid. Yi Qinghan was amenable to coaxing, but not coercion. Since Yi Qinghan dared to use this method on him, spending 2 million middle spirit crystals to buy a useless saber, wouldn't that destroy the Qin family? Shut up. If you dare to cause trouble again, I will expel you from the Qin family. Also, if you still want to inherit the Qin family, you will have to win your sister back and please her. Fight for the best interests of the Qin family. Otherwise, how can you inherit the Qin family? Qin Ying scolded coldly. Qin Haoran was not satisfied. He was asked to please a blind man. His strong self-esteem did not allow him to do so. However, the hall outside was in an uproar. Yi Qinghan increased the bid by hundreds of thousands of spiritual crystals, shocking everyone. Yi Qinghan clenched his fists. Yilingyu clenched his fists. He was unwilling to give up. He had come here for this saber. He had thought that he could buy it with 1 million spirit crystals. He did not expect that he might not be able to get it even after using all the spirit crystals he had brought. His cold gaze swept past the seventh private room. An evil and cold light shot out from his eyes, and then he chose to give up. She did not know the value of the saber, so she had to give up. If the price exceeded 2 million spiritual crystals, it would hurt her foundation. She would have to give up the black dragon bone in the later stage. Tang Sheng had a strange expression on his face. He struggled and tried to instigate the crowd to increase the bid again. However, the other Life Palace Realm warriors were not willing to do so. They felt that it was too expensive just because someone else increased the bid. If they bought the wrong item, it would be too late to cry. Forget it, I won't participate. Who knows why he bought the saber? The evil aura is so strong that it can change the fate of a Grotto Heaven Realm warrior. Since the death of the Green Dragon founder, the owners of the Green Dragon saber have not lived for more than 30 years. It is not worth it to hurt oneself for this saber. Dongfeng Yu shook his head and said, 7 million. Is there anyone else who wants to increase the bid? If not, I will announce the owner of the Green Dragon saber. Huang Xiaoming said excitedly. Yi Qinghan is going to auction the Black Moon technique this time. The price might increase to 5 million. I suspect that some of the Fate Palace warriors might go bankrupt just to buy it. With this commission, I might be able to expand my career in the Xiaolong region. Huang Xiaoming muttered to herself. Although Owlfall belonged to Xiaolong region, it was just a small planet in a corner of Xiaolong region. Unless something big happened, Xiaolong region would never know that there was such a planet with life. It was a Xiozha's greatest dream to leave this place. The hall was silent, but everyone's hearts were filled with anticipation. Their palms were sweaty. No one raised the price again. Yi Qinghan heaved a sigh of relief when he saw that Yi Lingyu had given up. As long as Yi Lingyu did not fight for the saber, Lu Ning would not fight for it as well. As for the old monsters at the Life Palace level, they would not risk their lives for the saber.
Good.
Since no one is bidding, I announce that the Azure Dragon Saber belongs to the customer in private room number 7. Huang Xiaoming was excited. She said to the Grotto Heaven Realm third step powerhouse behind her, bring the Azure Dragon Saber to private room number 7. Huang Xiaoming came to private room number 7 once again. As soon as she entered the room, she presented a jade slip and said excitedly, Mr. Yi, please engrave the Black Moon technique on this jade slip. I'll put it up for auction in the next round. This way, it will fetch a high price, but I'll take 10% of your profits. Yi Qinghan heaved a sigh of relief. He had finally obtained the Devil Dragon Saber that he had been dreaming of. This saber was extremely important to him. Losing a 4th grade secret technique was nothing. After taking the jade slip, Yi Qinghan engraved the memory of the Black Moon technique into the jade slip and handed it to Huang Xiaoming. The auction house also sent the Devil Dragon Saber up. A cold, evil aura permeated the air, trying to penetrate one's body. Even Lu Outyen was not used to the room's environment. Yi Qinghan casually slapped a few seals, completely sealing the iron box. Not a single bit of evil aura leaked out. After Huang Xiaoming put away the jade slip, she returned to the auction stage. Her face was flushed with joy, and she did not hide it at all. Everyone, let me tell you a piece of good news. The treasures in the next round of auction might be something that no one has expected, especially those from Fate Palace Realm and 4th grade organizations. Are you ready to go crazy? Huang Xiaoming asked excitedly, trying to stir up the atmosphere. What's that? She actually used the word crazy. Is it even crazier than auctioning the Azure Dragon Saber? I don't know. Seeing how excited she is, I'm guessing that the treasures have really appeared. But we won't get a share. She already said that this is the craziness of 4th grade families and Fate Palace Realm powerhouses. As the crowd discussed, Huang Xiaoming continued, the starting price of this treasure is 4 million spirit crystals. If you're not ready, you'd better get ready as soon as possible. If you miss out on this treasure, you might regret it for the rest of your life. When the Fate Palace Realm powerhouse on the 4th floor heard this, he was shocked. He knew that the Real treasure had appeared and was secretly glad that he did not waste a large amount of spirit crystals on the Azure Dragon Saber. Yi Lingyu's eyes, which were hidden under the bamboo hat, suddenly widened. A treasure that was worth more than 4 million middle spiritual crystals was either a top 4th grade, or a 5th grade secret technique, or a 5th grade combat weapon. He did not expect to encounter such a good thing here. Ha ha ha, the person in private room number 7 must be mad. He spent 1.7 million mid-grade spirit crystals on a useless azure dragon saber. Now that a better treasure has appeared, he must have run out of money to buy it. Hee. The Fate Palace Realm powerhouse on the 4th floor must be happy. A strong competitor has been eliminated. Many people were gloating. However, the Fate Palace Realm powerhouse was indeed glad that the person in private room number 7 was too overbearing. He increased the price as if it was water. He felt that spirit crystals were free goods. Of course, he would be happy to be eliminated. Yi Qinghan smiled. Using a top grade for secret skill to attract everyone's attention was the best choice. Now, let's auction another treasure to ease the atmosphere. Hee, I'm also very excited about the next treasure. Huang Xiaoming smiled mischievously. She looked even more innocent, which made the men excited. Haha, I didn't know that the goddess has such a cute side. The 10 mid-grade spirit crystals were well spent. Everyone burst into laughter, especially the younger generation. Even the ancient sword king was laughing. The next item is a spiritual fruit, a top grade for spiritual fruit. It's rumored that the demon god fruit can help monsters evolve quickly into high-level spiritual beasts. Huang Xiaoming pulled at her clothes to ease her emotions and said excitedly, as we all know, monsters are divided into ferocious beasts and spirit beasts. They are divided into 9 grades. But the grades of monsters are not divided by strength, but by bloodline. A grade 8 divine dragon. Even if it's just a cub, it's still a high and mighty grade 8 spiritual beast. Powerful ferocious beasts have no intelligence. Even if they evolve to the Grotto Heaven realm, they're only grade 4 or grade 3. However, things are different with the demon god fruit. It can help a grade 3 ferocious beast evolve to grade 4 or even grade 5 in a short time. It can even develop their intelligence and turn them into spiritual pets with spirituality. If anyone with a monster as a spiritual pet can buy the demon god fruit, you'll instantly have a Grotto Heaven realm guardian. If you're lucky and it evolves to the Life Palace realm, congratulations. You'll be ranked among the top powerhouses in the mainland. Huang Xiaoming's voice was melodious, gradually calming the crowd's frenzy. They were now very interested in the demon god fruit. In private room 7, Yi Qinghan frowned. He realized that the parrot had run away and was getting further and further away from the auction house. It meant that it had succeeded. How was Huang Xiaoming going to auction the demon god fruit now that it had stolen it? She had introduced so much information about the demon god fruit, but could not produce it. Was she not going to make a fool of herself? This incident might affect her glory as a 5th grade auctioneer. She might be demoted to 4th grade as a result. That damn bitch bird, giving me so much trouble. The auction house will definitely be furious. Yi Qinghan muttered to himself helplessly. Lu Aotian was also very curious. The parrot had not returned since it went out. Could it have really succeeded? The powerhouses with ferocious beasts and spiritual pets all looked over, hoping to cultivate their spiritual pets into 4th grade or even 5th grade ferocious beasts. Once their bloodline evolved, it would only be a matter of time before they became spiritual beasts of the Grotto Heaven realm or Life Palace realm. Huang Xiaoming looked at everyone's interest and nodded with satisfaction. She signaled the people behind her to bring the demon god fruit up. Soon, a powerhouse at the pinnacle of the Bitter Sea realm walked out from behind with a brocade box. Huang Xiaoming smiled and took the brocade box. She carefully opened it, and her expression changed. She almost threw the brocade box out. The crowd was stunned. They did not expect Huang Xiaoming to change her expression so quickly. They could not help but be curious. Many people probed, with their divine sense. The contents of the brocade box appeared in their consciousness. They could not help but laugh. Even the powerhouses at the Life Palace realm laughed. Huang Xiaoming was stunned. She did not know what to do. How could such a low-level mistake appear in such an occasion? Was the auction house testing her? There was no demon god fruit in the brocade box. It was clearly a fruit core that had been gnawed clean. There was also a pile of bird poop in the box. Huang Xiaoming suppressed her anger and closed the brocade box. She forced a smile on her ashen face and said, "Hee hee, I was just joking with everyone to lighten the mood. You were fooled by me too, right?"
Haha.
Even Huang Xiaoming herself felt that what she said was very fake. It was so fake that it made people's teeth drop. However, she could only say that to avoid embarrassment. However, the face of a beautiful woman was still very big. Even if she made such a big mistake, no one criticized her. At most, they laughed kindly to relieve Huang Xiaoming's pressure. Yi Qinghan's mouth twitched. He was deeply impressed by the parrot's despicable behavior. Not only did it steal other people's treasures, it even put down a pile of bird poop to disgust the auction house. How much hatred did it have? How much hatred did it have? A powerhouse walked out from behind the auction house and whispered into Huang Xiaoming's ear. His face turned pale, and he took the brocade box away. "Everyone, please calm down. Regarding the treasure of the demon god fruit, the auction house will give everyone an explanation. Now, let's begin the auction for the next item. Top grade for secret skill. Dark Moon Technique. The starting price is 4 million spirit crystals." Huang Xiaoming was extremely nervous. Her palms were sweaty. She stared at the Life Palace realm powerhouses in the hall and on the 4th floor, hoping that they would resonate and respond. Chapter 93. Top Level 4th Grade Secret Skill. The Dark Moon Technique. A low chant shook the auction house. A few powerful Fate Palace powerhouses stood up excitedly. Their wrinkled faces were finally flushed, as if they had finally seen hope after a long drought. Due to their cultivation techniques, these old men would stop at the 4th step of the Fate Palace realm. They would never be able to reach the Tao Master level, which meant that they could only live up to 500 years old. 500 years might seem like a long time, but for a Fate Palace realm cultivator, a single seclusion would take up to 10 years or even decades. Those who could enter the Fate Palace realm were all over 400 years old. Not everyone was like Yi Qinghan, who broke through to the Tao Master level and became a Grand Marshal Honored Warrior in just 500 years. The Dark Moon Technique was the last straw for these Fate Palace realm cultivators to reach the Tao Master level and extend their lives. How could they not be excited? Lu Patian and the rest trembled as their fingers and legs trembled. They stared at Huang Xiaoming, afraid that she was joking again. "Xiaoming, us old guys have weak hearts. It's fine if you joke about the demon god fruit, but please don't joke about this matter. Otherwise, us old guys will get angry." Lu Patian stared at Huang Xiaoming and pretended to be calm as he spoke. "That's right. It's okay to joke about the demonic god fruit, but you can't joke about the top-level 4th grade secret skill." "Are you sure it's the top-level 4th grade secret skill, the Dark Moon Technique?" Tang Sheng asked nervously. "That was just a small mistake. I'm a 5th grade auctioneer. How can I joke about such an important matter?" Huang Xiaoming clenched her fists and was furious. She hated the bastard who ate the demonic god fruit. The demonic god fruit incident would be an indelible blemish in her auction career. If the Auctioneer Association knew about it, it would affect her auction rank. Yi Qinghan smiled bitterly. This parrot was such a scammer. A 5th grade auctioneer had a high status in the Xiaolong region, but he had been scammed by this parrot. Huang Xiaoming's reputation took a huge hit. Despite her repeated promises, the Fate Palace realm cultivators were still doubtful. After all, a top-level 4th grade secret skill was rare, especially on this small planet. Who would sell such a secret skill? "I promise that if it's not the complete Dark Moon Technique, I'll compensate you double for your loss." Huang Xiaoming's aura turned cold. Her upper rank 5 aura instantly enveloped the auction hall, silencing the crowd. With this promise, the Life Palace powerhouses, grade for clans and dynasty forces, began to get restless. Many clans and sects that were on good terms with each other began to form secret alliances, preparing to seize the treasure together. The starting bid is 4 million spirit crystals. If no one bids, the Dark Moon technique will be auctioned off at a price of 4 million middle spirit crystals. Huang Xiaoming's voice was low as she scanned the crowd. I bid 4 million middle spiritual crystals. Lu Patian suddenly shouted, breaking the clamor in the hall. Lu Ning took a deep breath. She was considering whether she should choose the top 4th grade secret technique or the ancient dragon bone. Being a 5th grade family did not mean that they did not care about top 4th grade secret techniques, especially the Mystic Moon technique. In the past, the Mystic Moon sect had relied on this secret technique to dominate the Falling Star sect for thousands of years. If it were not for the fact that they were uprooted by a mysterious powerhouse, they would definitely have the opportunity to become a top 5th grade force. The Dongfang dynasty bids 4,500,000 middle spiritual crystals. Dongfang Yu shouted excitedly. 5 million. Lu Ning understood the value of the Black Moon technique. If she could get it, the Lu clan's strength would increase. 5,300,000 middle spiritual crystals. An old life palace realm cultivator, who had been silent at the corner of the 4th floor, made his first bid. It was frighteningly high. In private room number 7, Qin Shihuang trembled and his face turned red. He finally understood how much Yi Qinghan had paid for him to buy the 5th grade secret technique. He also understood how much Yi Qinghan cared about him and how much he loved him. The Qin emperor tugged at Yi Qinghan's clothes with his small hands and looked at Yi Qinghan respectfully. He said gently, "Thank you, masters." Yi Qinghan smiled and patted Qin Shihuang's head. "What are you thanking me for? You're my disciple. If I don't protect you, who will? Don't take it to heart. In the future, you'll understand that a 5th grade secret technique is nothing. You're destined to step on the 9 heavens and look down on everyone. Yes, I won't let you down, masters." A warm current gushed out from the bottom of the Qin emperor's cold heart, and a bright light suddenly appeared in the gloomy world, illuminating his heart. His face became radiant, and the birthmark on his palm became more attractive. In the end, he couldn't control himself and held Yi Qinghan's large hand. Yi Qinghan used his ethereal force to move Qin Shihuang's arm, helping to suppress the ancient Guqin's agitation. Outside the private room, the atmosphere had reached its climax. Everyone was excited, as if they were the ones who were bidding. The price kept rising until it reached 6 million mid-spirit crystals, making Yi Qinghan a millionaire. He had entered the ranks of the rich. The Black Moon technique was related to the lifespan of many life palace realm cultivators. No one was willing to give it up. As more and more people joined forces, the price exceeded Yi Qinghan's estimate. Tang Sheng and Dongfang Yu were unwilling to give up, so they decided to join forces. Lu Potion's face was ferocious. Ancient Lulan was not a tycoon. When the price reached 5 million middle spiritual crystals, they were already on the verge of bankruptcy. However, how could he give up the last chance to lift his lifespan? In 30 years, my lifespan will come. I've been cultivating for 500 years. Am I going to turn into a pile of dirt? I can't accept this. Lu Patian glanced at the 2 life palace realm cultivators behind him. Their expressions were the same as his. No one was willing to give up. In private room number 7, Lu Outyan's face was solemn. His grand elder was bidding crazily outside. It had reached the limit of what ancient Lulan could afford. If he continued bidding, ancient Lulan would be finished once the deal was struck. "Brother Yi, can I remind the grand elder not to participate in the auction? Lulan can't die. Otherwise, hundreds of millions of people will be involved in the war." Lu Outyan pleaded. "Do as you see fit. Just don't expose me." Yi Qinghan thought for a moment and nodded. "Thank you, Brother Yi. I'll repay your kindness 100-fold in the future." Lu Outyan was thrilled. He rushed out of the private room and ran to the 4th floor. On the 4th floor, Lu Ning took a deep breath. 6 million was more than the spiritual crystals she had brought. If she wanted to buy it again, she would have to borrow money. Yi Lingyu took the initiative to go to the 4th floor. Just as the staff of the auction house was about to stop him, a golden light flashed in his hand. A gold medallion appeared in his hand. It was engraved with the words, "Zither Breaking Sword." The staff of the auction house bowed and let him pass. The gold medallion was the symbol of an imperial lord. Every imperial lord was famous in the Xiaolong region. He was truly invincible among those of the same level. Yi Lingyu moved like a sharp sword piercing through the air. His black robe fluttered, startling Lu Ning. "Yi Lingyu? Are you ashamed of yourself? Why are you dressed like that?" Lu Ning was speechless. Cut the crap. I don't think the Lu family has a top grade for secret skill, right? Let's work together to get this secret skill and split it when we return to the Xiaolong region. What do you think? Yi Lingyu said coldly. How many spiritual crystals did you bring? Lu Ning frowned. 2 million mid-grade spiritual crystals. I'm here for the saber. Unfortunately, I met someone who knows the value of the saber. It's futile to increase the price, so I gave up. Yi Lingyu said lightly. I brought 6 million spiritual crystals. If I buy it, how do we split it? Lu Ning asked. You want the Dark Moon technique, and I want the Azure Dragon Saber. Yi Lingyu said, without hesitation. Lu Ning was shocked. Seeing Yi Lingyu's firm tone, she knew that he was going to snatch it. Okay, I'll try my best. Lu Ning thought for a moment and said. After the two of them agreed, the price outside had risen to 6,300,000 spiritual crystals. The Fate Palace realm warriors looked ferocious. None of them were willing to give up. Lu Outyen went to the hall on the 4th floor and respectfully stood in front of Lu Patian. He twisted his voice and transmitted it into Lu Potion's mind. Ancestor, I accidentally obtained a martial skill that is not inferior to the Dark Moon technique. Ancestor, please let go of the Dark Moon technique. Lu Outyen said in a deep voice. Lu Patian stared at Lu Outyen. His eyes were like the eyes of an eagle. They were captivating and his heart was beating wildly.
What did you say?
When did you get it? Lu Patian was surprised and overjoyed. Patriarch, this isn't the right place. Once the auction is over, Proud Heaven will definitely give you a satisfactory answer. Lu Outyen went downstairs and Lu Patian withdrew from the bidding. The Fate Palace realm warriors were confused and surprised. After all, one less person would reduce the pressure. As soon as Lu Patian withdrew from the bidding, the 4 Fate Palace realm warriors joined forces to fight against Lu Ning and Yi Lingyu. The two juniors would only have 8 million spiritual crystals at most. How could they compete with the 4 Fate Palace realm warriors? Moreover, the Dark Moon technique was their life. They had never thought of letting go. When the price rose to 8 million spiritual crystals, Lu Ning had to give up. 8 million spiritual crystals was a huge number. Even if the price was split evenly, a Fate Palace realm warrior would pay 2 million spiritual crystals. Yi Qinghan smiled faintly. After deducting the 8 million spiritual crystals from the 8 million spiritual crystals and the 1,700,000 spiritual crystals, he was left with 5 million spiritual crystals. He still had 200,000 spiritual crystals. With a record of 8 million, Huang Xiaoming's expression finally looked better. She handed over the Black Moon Technique secret technique Jade Slip to Tang Sheng and the others, then handed over the spirit crystals to Yi Qinghan. Congratulations, Mr. Yi. With such a high price, it seems like you should treat me to supper tonight. Huang Xiaoming entered the private room and handed over a few Qingquan rings. She looked at Yi Qinghan. Her face was flushed and her eyes sparkled like sparkling jewels. Yi Qinghan took the Qingquan rings and glanced at them. The spiritual crystals were piled up like a mountain. There were about 5,670,000 spiritual crystals. He did not count them and nodded. Thank you, Lady Huang. I don't have time for supper. Here are 10,000 spiritual crystals. Please accept them as my treat. Huang Xiaoming was speechless. Lu Outyen was also speechless. Huang Xiaoming was a 5th-grade auctioneer. Although she was not the most beautiful woman in the world, she could still be considered a peerless beauty. He took the initiative to accompany her for supper, but was rejected. He even suspected that there was something wrong with Yi Qinghan's sexual orientation. Qin Huang saw Yi Qinghan's rejection and smiled faintly. Perhaps she and Jian Qinxue were the only ones who were happy. If the parrot were here, it would definitely mock Yi Qinghan again. Chapter 94. Huang Xiaoming looked at the indifferent Yi Qinghan and her mouth twitched. She snorted and glared at Yi Qinghan with dissatisfaction before turning to leave. Just as she reached the door, she turned back to grab the universe ring and put it away. 10,000 mid-grade crystals. It would be a waste if he didn't take it. A rank 5 auctioneer was also short on money. Idiot. Huang Xiaoming scolded and left again. Brother, such a beauty asked you out, and you didn't even go. Do you like this big brother? Yi Mingxi asked curiously. Cough, cough. Lu Outyan spat out the spiritual tea he just drank. He looked at the little girl speechlessly and pretended to be angry. What does a child know? I'm serious about liking women. As for your brother, Yi Qinghan snorted. Lu Outyan smiled without saying anything. Master likes women. Mingxi, don't talk nonsense. Qin Shihuang gently explained for Yi Qinghan. That might not be the case. Jian Qinxue was dissatisfied. A beauty like her was standing here, and he didn't even say anything. It would be strange if he liked women. Yi Qinghan smiled bitterly and shook his head. Stop fooling around. We're watching the auction now. If there's anything you like, just bid. It's my treat. That's more like it. Yi Mingxi and Jian Qinxue said in unison. Qin Shihuang covered his mouth and smiled. The warmth in the room made Lu Outyan's heart throb. Such a family environment was impossible for the royal family. The princes were always scheming against each other and couldn't wait to kill each other. The auction outside continued. The treasures that appeared were very ordinary and didn't attract Yi Qinghan's attention. However, Jian Qinxue bought 12 rank for blood spirit pills. The total price was 30,000 mid-grade crystals. Of course, Yi Qinghan was paying for it. The auction continued into the afternoon. Many people had already made their moves. Ling Chen bought a rank for ultimate treasure elixir. Wang Shizhi bought a set of sword manuals that cost more than 100,000 mid-grade crystals. Luning didn't seem to be interested in other things. She was focused on waiting for the ancient dragon bone to appear. Yilingyu came, but did not manage to buy anything. He was a little dissatisfied and did not leave. However, his gaze kept wandering around the 7th private room. Yi Qinghan noticed Yilingyu's gaze and sighed inwardly. This is troublesome. This little guy still hasn't given up on the demon dragon saber. The auction continued, but the great expert at the back of the auction house was looking at a brocade box with an ominous glint in his eyes. He was extremely furious. My auction house has been around for 1,000 years and has never been so humiliated. He even caused the 5th grade auctioneer, Fairy Huang, to lose face. Today, this matter must be thoroughly investigated. He was a life palace warrior in the auction house. He looked like he was in his 40s, but his aura was restrained. He was like a volcano that was about to erupt. Once he did, he could destroy the world. His name was Xianyuanyu, and he was at the 3rd step of the Fate Palace realm. He was one of the most powerful beings on the Owlfall star. He was only about 300 years old, and he was 1 generation younger than Lu Patian and the others. He was considered a genius of his generation, and he had the potential to become a Dao master. Master Xianyuan, did the culprit deliberately leave this pile of bird poop and fruit core to provoke our auction house? The deacon of the Flaming Cloud City auction house frowned as he stared at the bird poop. However, he could not tell what kind of creature produced it. Whether it is or not, I can find the culprit. Xianyuanyu smiled coldly. Inform the headquarters to send the blood leopard condor here. Its nose can smell the bird poop. Follow the smell and find the culprit. In Horfei-Er's yard, the parrot had shrunk into a white ball. It was shining brightly, and its body was crystal clear. Its vigorous qi and blood emitted a faint pressure that was getting stronger and stronger. This feels so good. I'm going to evolve. My bloodline is awakening. I'm an ancient mythical beast, the devouring spirit parrot. I'll return to my peak and create glory again. The parrot twitched all over and allowed the bloodline power to transform its body. A large amount of unused spiritual energy was quickly absorbed, and its bloated body began to shrink. Once again, it returned to its slender form. However, its body was emitting rich spiritual qi, like a fifth-grade spiritual medicine. As time went by, the parrot's qi became more and more sacred. Its spiritual qi was extremely rich, and its wretched qi became holy. Its big eyes were like vast stars that could steal people's souls. At this moment, it did not know that the auction house had already launched an investigation and was determined to catch the culprit. Gurgle, the blood filled with spiritual qi, was comparable to a fourth-grade or even fifth-grade spiritual liquid. It was very tempting. Perhaps its blood had the ability to break the limit of the Fate Palace realm. It could turn something rotten into something magical and reignite one's qi and blood. The parrot began to devour the spiritual fruits in its yin and yang ring. These were all taken from the Hui family. At this moment, it was as if these spiritual fruits were worthless. One bite after another, it absorbed the spiritual qi within. The pit of the spiritual fruits filled the entire room. The parrot's control of spiritual energy seemed to be more precise than Yi Qinghan's. As it transformed its body, it evolved its bloodline. Its strength continued to rise, and so did its realm. After half an hour, it was equivalent to a 9-star expert of the Bitter Sea realm. It was even more powerful than Yi Qinghan. I'll break this damn taboo of spiritual beasts and become a supreme overlord. I'll unify the demon god realm.
Ha ha ha.
The parrot was smug. Even if its bloodline had evolved, it could not hide its unparalleled wretchedness. At the auction, Huang Xiaoming finally found her groove. She slowly forgot about the demon god fruit incident and prepared to auction off the last few real treasures. The next treasure is the spine of an ancient creature. Rumor has it that it's the bone of an 8th-grade mythical beast, the Azure Dragon. Whether it's true or not, I can't tell. However, I can tell you that this bone is definitely the bone of a 5th-grade mythical beast or above. Huang Xiaoming signaled the person behind her to take out a 1-meter-long jade box. It emitted a purple glow and was full of vitality. Yi Qinghan instantly sat up straight and looked down at the haul. He stared at the brocade box made of jade. His blood boiled as if he could feel the ancient Azure Dragon's bloodline and pressure. The bone of an ancient mythical beast, even if it was only a 6th-grade one, was extremely powerful. It was definitely a treasure for the body refining school. This 1-meter-long bone could be used to refine an arm, making the arm comparable to a 5th-grade or even 6th-grade combat weapon. Wherever it went, everything would be swept away. Lu Ning's emotions began to stir. She thought to herself, it seems that the information is true. If I can buy this bone, I can refine my body. This is my flaw. Once it's fixed, I'll be in the top 100 among the 1,000 kings of the Owl Dragon region. In the entire Owl Dragon region, among the 1,000 kings, the top 100 could definitely fight across realms. A Bitter Sea realm cultivator could fight a Grotto Heaven realm cultivator. A Grotto Heaven realm cultivator at the first step could defeat a Grotto Heaven realm cultivator at the 4th step. Ling Chun and Wang Shizhi were only at the bottom of the kings. Without opportunities, the Dao Master realm was the top and could not advance. Yilingyu's eyes were like stars. He tore off his bamboo hat, and his handsome face was like jade. His whole body was filled with a domineering and fierce aura. He had transformed into a peerless, ferocious sword. What? You also want the ancient Azure Dragon bone? Lu Ning frowned and asked. Of course. I'm determined to get it. At most, I'll sell my martial arts. The accumulation of these years is enough for me to get this bone. Yilingyu said coldly. Humph, let's wait and see. Lu Ning's aura changed. Her icy aura kept people thousands of miles away. However, Yilingyu did not move at all, and did not care at all. Xianyuanyu, who was at the back of the auction house, came out personally. He used the supreme power of true origin to run through his body. His palm exerted force and moved the jade lid. An ancient aura instantly covered the auction house. The golden bone was filled with the ancient Tao and contained the power of the universe. The aura was so strong that the Bitter Sea realm experts in front coughed up blood and flew backward. Just a glance at it made them feel that their blood was surging and about to explode. The speed of their heartbeats was unbearable. This bone had existed for at least 3,000 years. The golden bone was still flowing with the aura of jewels and treasure. Purple gas was entwined around it, and it contained a rich essence of life. Yi Qinghan stood up with a bang. His eyes turned into a sharp lightning that traversed time and space and fixed on the bone. It was about 1/2 meter long and as thick as an adult's arm. It was rich with the power of a dragon, and its majesty was overwhelming. It was as if an ancient Tao master had descended. This is the spine of an adult boundless flood dragon. It has 2,000 years of cultivation and is at least of the 6th rank. It actually appeared on Alfal Star, and there is only half of it. How strange. Yi Qinghan quickly identified the origin of the bone and was puzzled. The boundless flood dragon was the descendant of the ancient azure dragon. The ancient azure dragon and the flood dragon that wanted to evolve into a dragon gave birth to a creature with a supreme bloodline. At birth, it was classified as a 6th-rank demon beast and could evolve on its own. It was extremely powerful. Once it reached adulthood, its cultivation would be close to the immortal gate realm and far surpass the human great revered martial artists. Xianyuan Yu clenched his teeth and his hands trembled. He tried to suppress the fear in his heart. Once again, he put the boundless flood dragon's bone into the jade brocade box. After quickly sealing it, he took deep breaths and his back was drenched in sweat. The others looked at each other. This bone was frightening to look at from afar. Even the Fate Palace realm experts were trembling with fear. Who would buy it? What could they do with it? The Fate Palace realm experts gave up immediately. However, the Regal realm experts were excited, including Ling Chen and Wang Shizhi. Their eyes flashed and they wanted to bid. Yi Qinghan sneered. Even if the price was 10 million spiritual crystals today, no one else would be able to get the ancient azure dragon's bone. The starting price is 2 million spiritual crystals. Each increment must be no less than 100,000 spiritual crystals. Huang Xiaoming scanned the crowd and realized that most of them were not prepared to bid. Her heart sank. Since Lu Ning did not make the first bid, Yiling Yu naturally did not either. He was waiting for the end. If no one made a bid, the two of them would definitely find someone else to bid and split the ancient azure dragon's bone equally. There was no need to fight. Ling Chen swallowed his saliva. The starting price was 2 million spiritual crystals. That was all of his wealth. This was the reward and fortune he received from the regal battle. Was he going to use all of it to buy the ancient azure dragon's bone? Hearing the price, Wang Shizhi smiled bitterly. He could only give up. The Wang family would not go bankrupt to buy this treasure for him. The hall was silent for a long time. Still, no one made a bid. Huang Xiaoming frowned. Yi Qinghan came to the window and looked at the jade brocade box. He said calmly, "Since no one is bidding, I'll throw a brick to attract the jade. I'll bid 4 million spiritual crystals." The low voice made everyone break out in cold sweat. They looked at private room number 7 and were shocked by Yi Qinghan's generosity. Chapter 95. Do you know him? Where did this rich guy come from? Lu Ning asked with a frown. I don't know him. He's a stranger. He's only 2 stars of the Bitter Sea realm. He's not an emperor, Yiling Yu said with certainty. Do you still want to compete? Lu Ning wasn't willing to give up. She had come aggressively and was determined to obtain the ancient dragon bone, but she had been stunned by Yi Qinghan's heroic spirit. She didn't even have the confidence to bid anymore. Why should we compete? Treasures belong to those who are fated. If he can buy it, he must have the ability to keep it. We don't have to compete with him in terms of crystals. We can just snatch it. Yiling Yu smiled coldly. Murderous intent rushed out of his body, intimidating those in the Fate Palace realm. I feel that he's very strange. He seems to have some relationship with me. Even if he snatched my treasures twice, I can't feel any hostility towards him. Are you sure you don't know him? Lu Ning frowned. She felt that part of her memory was missing. She tried hard to recall but could not remember who Yi Qinghan was. Yi Lingyu looked through the window and carefully stared at Yi Qinghan's side profile. His heart shook and his fingertips trembled. He knocked on the railing and cried out. His temperament is like his. Yi Qinghan used his divine sense to explore the fourth floor. He was careful not to be discovered by Yi Lingyu and Lu Ning. However, he heard their discussion and frowned. After obtaining the Devil Dragon Saber and the Ancient Dragon Bone, the first thing he had to do was increase his strength and refine his body. He had to raise his realm to 5 stars of the Bitter Sea realm, cross the Heart Demon Sea, and watch the evolution of chaos. Otherwise, he would not be able to fight against these emperors. Especially Yi Lingyu, who had received his guidance and was invincible in the way of the saber. Huang Xiaoming glanced at Private Room 7. She was still angry at Yi Qinghan and said in a muffled voice, "Is there a higher price?" This was an ancient dragon bone that was above the 6th grade. The best equipment for forging weapons can be sold for at least 7 million in Xiao Long region. Huang Xiaoming was obviously trying to cause trouble for Yi Qinghan, so she deliberately revealed the true value. Yi Qinghan's eyes were like torches as he looked at Huang Xiaoming's unreasonable behavior. His breath sank, and a sharp sword shot out from his eyes, drilling into her eyes. Huang Xiaoming shuddered, feeling as if she had fallen into an ice cave. She could not help but think to herself, this guy is only at the 2 stars of the Bitter Sea realm, but I am at the Grotto Heaven realm. He can actually make me feel fear. His soul is so strong. Under Huang Xiaoming's instigation, there was a commotion in the auction, but no one was willing to bid any higher because they had no use for this item. Putting aside the fact that they did not have enough spirit crystals, even if they did, what use would it be to buy it? For a million going twice. Is there anyone who wants to bid higher? Huang Xiaoming avoided Yi Qinghan's gaze and looked up at the 4th floor. She realized that Lu Ning and Yi Qinghan had no intention of increasing the price. She knew that the ancient dragon bone could not be auctioned for a better price. For a million going thrice sold. The ancient dragon bone goes to Private Room 7. Huang Xiaoming did not dare to continue provoking Yi Qinghan, so she made the final decision. Yi Qinghan had obtained 2 of his favorite treasures. He sat down contentedly and waited for Huang Xiaoming to deliver the ancient dragon bone. Sure enough, Huang Xiaoming personally came over with the jade brocade box. She threw the box in front of Yi Qinghan angrily. "Here, take it, and give me the spirit crystals." Yi Qinghan was speechless at the anger of such a little woman. Huang Xiaoming was already a few decades old. Although to cultivators, she was like a teenager among mortals, she could not throw a tantrum like this. After all, she was a 5th-grade auctioneer. "Take it. Thanks a lot." Yi Qinghan kept the jade brocade box and threw out 4 Qianquan rings, each filled with 1 million mid-grade spirit crystals. "You're welcome, idiot." Huang Xiaoming glared fiercely at Yi Qinghan, took the Qianquan rings, and turned to leave. Yi Qinghan. Lu Outyan laughed loudly. To be able to see Huang Xiaoming like this trip was not in vain. "Silly brother, are you treating me to supper tonight? If you're not free, why don't you give me 10,000 mid-grade spirit crystals? I can go eat by myself." Jian Chinxua joked. Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan calculated carefully. He had less than 1.5 million mid-grade spirit crystals left. It was enough to support him until he reached the 5th star of the Bitter Sea stage. Just as Yi Qinghan was relaxing, his soul suddenly shook, as if he had been enlightened. The qi and blood in his body boiled, and his vital essence roared, wanting to rush out of his body. His long hair and clothes fluttered without wind. "And what's going on? How did my soul and vital essence suddenly strengthen so much?" Yi Qinghan was shocked. He tried to suppress the boiling blood and recall his vital essence, but he found that his realm was also changing, completely unconsciously rising. Boom! Yi Qinghan felt that the blood in his body was like the yellow river bursting its banks, wanting to break through the sky. In the blink of an eye, his realm had rushed into the third star of the Bitter Sea stage, and it was still growing. Lu Outyen looked at Yi Qinghan exuding a majestic aura and quickly closed the doors and windows, sealing the private room. Yi Qinghan suddenly felt that his and the parrot's perception had strengthened a lot. Even though they were a few miles apart, he could feel that the parrot was transforming. Did the evolution of the parrot's bloodline make me transform? Yi Qinghan was shocked. He finally found the reason why his realm was soaring. Middle third star of the Bitter Sea stage.
Peak.
Hua, his vital essence, was invincible. His soul pierced through the shackles and broke through the bottleneck. Immediately, his vital essence turned into a dragon, running through his body and swimming through his limbs and bones. His strength instantly increased by several times. Lu Outyen and Jian Qinshua looked at Yi Qinghan as if they were looking at a god. This kind of breakthrough was too strange. The breakthrough was inexplicable and too fast. In just half an incense stick's time, he broke through 2 bottlenecks. Yi Qinghan took a deep breath. He did not expect that he would break through this time because of the parrot. However, the growth of his own cultivation did not shock him too much. He was shocked by the parrot's current strength. He could clearly feel that it had transformed by more than one level. How old was the demonic god fruit that cheap bird ate? How did it become so strong all of a sudden? Yi Qinghan frowned. He felt that the auction house would not let it go so easily. Yi Qinghan sat on pins and needles. He wanted to leave as soon as possible, but at this time, he would have to face Lu Ning and Yi Lingyu. This was not what he wanted. Is there a separate passage to leave this room? Yi Qinghan frowned and asked. There is a special passage. It is set up for some people who do not want to reveal their identity. However, they need to apply to the auction house and pay 100 mid-grade spirit crystals. Lu Outyen said seriously. Help me apply. I want to leave this place. Yi Qinghan said hurriedly. Lu Outyen saw that Yi Qinghan was in such a hurry. He nodded and walked out. Soon, Lu Outyen brought a Grotto Realm expert. The Grotto Realm expert received the 100 mid-grade spirit crystals and quickly opened a secret compartment. A deep and dark tunnel appeared in the wall. Where does this tunnel lead to? Yi Qinghan was very vigilant and asked in a deep voice. It leads outside the city, to the maple forest. The Grotto Realm expert glanced at Yi Qinghan and could not help but be surprised. He did not expect that the person who was so generous was actually a 17 or 18-year-old youth. Son, let's go. Yi Qinghan casually threw 100,000 mid-grade spirit crystals to Yi Mingxi and let her play as she pleased. Then, he led Qin Shi Huang into the tunnel. The Grotto Realm expert sealed the tunnel and quickly left the room. Yi Lingyu's eyes flashed as he sensed that an aura was missing from the 7th private room. He lowered his head and said to Lu Ning, the owner of the 7th private room has left through the tunnel. Go ask the auction house where the tunnel leads to. I will wait for you outside. Yi Lingyu could only sense Yi Qinghan's aura. Qin Shi Huang was sitting in the room. Even Yi Qinghan's soul might not be able to sense him. Previously, he had evaded Yi Qinghan's divine sense. Therefore, Yi Lingyu could not sense Qin Shi Huang's aura at all. After Yi Lingyu finished speaking, he put on his bamboo hat and left the auction house. He was not interested in the final treasures. Lu Ning hesitated for a moment. In the end, her greed overcame her vague premonition. She was determined to obtain the Azure Dragon Bone. After a while, Lu Ning arrived outside the auction house and met up with Yi Lingyu. She said in a serious voice, the tunnel is in the maple forest outside the city. Let's go. Yi Qinghan had a strong sense of danger. He carried Qin Shi Huang and sprinted all the way. He even used the divine dragon steps. Their figures moved like stars, leaving behind afterimages in the tunnel. Even Qin Shi Huang was carried into the air. Half an hour later, Yi Qinghan appeared in the maple forest with Qin Shi Huang. However, he discovered that 2 powerful auras were speeding over from Flaming Cloud City. Their figures spun, and the air currents collided with each other, forming a terrifying whirlwind. Heaven's might surged, as if foretelling that a great battle was coming. Dark clouds covered the sky, covering the sun. Two divine senses locked onto Yi Qinghan at the same time. Yi Qinghan snorted coldly. 5 years ago, he had personally nurtured these two little fellows. He was very familiar with them. Even if his cultivation had dropped to the 4th star of the Bitter Sea stage, he would not lose to them. However, Yi Qinghan did not want to fight. He hugged Qin Shi Huang, mobilized the vital energy in his body, and stomped on the ground. He leapt dozens of meters high, transforming into a sharp sword, and broke through the air.
Humph.
Want to leave?
Not so easy.
Leave behind the Azure Dragon Saber and the Azure Dragon Bone, and I will spare your life. Yi Lingyu snorted, the wings on his back suddenly spreading out. Like a great rock spreading its wings, an eagle soared into the sky. Whoosh, 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 the maple forest was blown by the wind, turning into waves. Wave after wave, they crazily surged into the depths. How could a king-level expert from Xiaolong region not have a 5th grade flying wing? Lu Ning's toes touched the ground, leaping into the air. The pure white wings behind her were like an angel, chasing after Yi Qinghan into the distance. Whoosh, Yi Qinghan completely relied on his physical body. Using the divine dragon steps, he could crush a mountain with one step. In a flash, he had traveled thousands of meters. The forest on both sides flew backwards. The sky was covered by dark clouds, and heavy rain poured down. It was as if the sky was about to collapse. The surging heavenly might caused all beasts to die. Not even a bird could be seen. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The heavy rain soaked Yi Qinghan's clothes. Qin Shi Huang hid in Yi Qinghan's embrace, closing his eyes and spreading his divine sense in all directions. Master, there is a cliff 500 meters ahead. Below the cliff, there is a cave 30 meters deep. Qin Shi Huang quickly reminded. Chapter 96. The rain continued to pour, and the wind blew. The rain covered the sky and the sun, causing people to be unable to open their eyes. Yi Lingyu and Lu Ning's vision was blocked, and they could only rely on their consciousness to lock onto Yi Qinghan. But the aura of Yi Qinghan was faintly discernible and extremely difficult to capture. When Yi Qinghan was about 300 meters away from the cliff, his aura was once again restrained. The fluctuations of his true yuan were reduced to the minimum. With a sudden acceleration, like a great bird spreading its wings, he directly jumped into the cliff. Boom! Yi Qinghan's eyes were like the sun. According to the information provided by the Qin Shi Huang, he quickly found the entrance of the cave. Taking out his heavy berserk blade, he stabbed it into the stone wall below the entrance of the cave. Go! Yi Qinghan lifted the Qin Emperor casually and sent him into the cave. Soon after, he grabbed the entrance of the cave and jumped into the cave with a somersault. His frenzied saber smashed a rock into pieces, and he fell down with a loud crash. Yi Qinghan indicated for the Qin Shi Huang to retreat. He forcefully cut out a huge piece of rock from the cave and directly blocked the entrance of the cave. Yi Qinghan and the Qin Shi Huang both restrained their aura at the same time. Yi Lingyu and Lu Ning lost track of Yi Qinghan at the same time and could not help but be shocked. That person is clearly at the Bitter Sea stage. How can he have such a fast speed? How can he evade the tracking of my consciousness? Yi Lingyu landed on the top of a mountain, his wings protecting his body. His eyes were like an eagle's, incomparably sharp. He scanned the entire mountain range, but still could not find any trace of Yi Qinghan. Lu Ning followed closely, her entire body emitting a mist. A faintly discernible yuan qi aura kept the rainwater half a meter away from her body. She was still as ethereal as an immortal. Her phoenix eyes were flowing with light, staring at the mountain range. He should still be nearby. To think that he could evade the detection of our consciousness. Lu Ning frowned, finding it somewhat inconceivable. Lu Ning and Yi Lingyu still did not discover that there was a Qin Shi Huang beside Yi Qinghan. Together, they patrolled the area. Spreading out their wings, they flew past the cliff. A black shadow flashed, and their consciousness swept past the cave. Yi Qinghan and Qin Shi retracted their auras. Yi Qinghan was like a rock, without any signs of life. As for Qin Shi, she was one with the heavens. If no one saw her, she would not exist. No matter how strong one's soul was, it would be difficult to discover them. After a long while, the Qin Emperor said in a low voice, "Teacher, they are searching toward the southwest." Yi Qinghan opened his eyes slightly and took out a gem to illuminate the cave. He found that it was just a natural small cave with no passageway inside. The space was only about the size of a room. He nodded and said, "Okay, help me guard. If anyone comes near, wake me up. I want to condense the Azure Dragon arm." The Qin Emperor pursed his lips and nodded gravely. He was quite happy that he could help Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan took a deep breath and took out the demonic dragon saber. The murderous aura spread out as he dashed out of the cave. The aura inside the cave was so oppressive that it was hard to breathe. The murderous aura kept drilling into the bodies of Yi Qinghan and Qin Shi as if it was corroding their bones. Humph! The Qin Emperor let out a soft humph. Strands of golden light emitted from her body and blocked the murderous aura. The birthmark of the divine zither in her palm burst out, and strands of divine might spread out in all directions. If the cave had not been sealed, it would have alerted the people outside. Yi Qinghan didn't resist the attack of the murderous aura. On the contrary, he took the initiative to absorb the murderous aura to refine his body. His entire body turned crimson red, as if he were being roasted by fire. His vigorous energy and blood boiled and roared, trying to break free from the shackles of his body. Blue veins popped out all over his body, tearing his clothes apart. The squirming of his blood vessels could be seen clearly. The brutal, murderous aura swam all over his body. His bronze-colored body turned dark red, and strands of black gas appeared on it. It looked extremely horrifying. The demonic dragon saber seemed to be very excited. The spirit inside was awakening. Attracted by Yi Qinghan's energy and blood, it took the initiative to absorb his blood. The blood gushed out, breaking open the web between his thumb and forefinger and rushing toward the edge of the demonic dragon saber. Roar! After the demonic dragon saber absorbed the blood, it let out a dragon roar that shook all directions. As if it was alive, it flew up on its own and penetrated into Yi Qinghan's sea of bitterness. It turned into a heavenly dragon and swam in the sea of bitterness. It crazily absorbed the murderous aura in the sea of bitterness, causing the sea of bitterness to surge with thousands of waves. It was majestic and majestic. Yi Qinghan closed his eyes and didn't care about it. He focused on mobilizing his vital essence to heal his injured body. His healed skin became crystal clear, and his perfect body didn't have a single flaw. In the endless sea of qi, his vital essence was completely consumed. The new energy became incomparably pure, and its quality increased by more than a level. Rolling vital essence flowed through his limbs and bones. Yi Qinghan took the opportunity to consolidate the 4 stars of the Sea of Bitterness. He prepared to break through the 5 stars of the Sea of Bitterness and enter the Sea of Bitterness realm. He wanted to comprehend the other side of the Sea of Bitterness and the evolution of chaos. The little person in his Sea of Consciousness was cultivating the violent saber technique and the extreme divine dragon steps. It had evolved into a true 5th-grade martial technique. Although it was small, its words and actions followed. It was connected to the great Tao of heaven and earth. When it attacked, the mountains collapsed and the earth cracked. In Yi Qinghan's Sea of Consciousness, the little person was firm and unyielding. His clothes fluttered, and he stood proudly in the wind. He held the violent saber in his hand and looked down on all living beings. He waved his saber and was invincible. It was like when he was at the peak of the great revered realm. The storm in the Sea of Consciousness whistled past. The saber split the heaven and earth, as if it had opened the shackles of heaven and earth. A white light illuminated the dim universe, causing Yi Qinghan's body to tremble. It was as if he had been enlightened. He instantly became much clearer about the cultivation technique that he had been confused about. If the heavens obstruct me, I will open the heavens. If the earth binds me, I will crack the earth. Darkness cannot stop me. Light will come. The universe of chaos, the myriad of Tao, all will be under my saber. The little person seemed to have his own soul. He pointed his saber at the sky and laughed arrogantly in the firmament. The corner of Yi Qinghan's mouth curled up and his veins popped out. He clenched his right hand, and the violent saber appeared. Even without the support of the saber core, the violent saber still emitted a cold aura and cold light. Keep. Yi Qinghan inserted the saber core into the saber hilt. He formed a seal with his palms and controlled the violent saber directly into a sea of consciousness to nourish it with his soul.
Groan.
The moment the violent saber appeared in his sea of consciousness, the demon dragon's saber seemed to have sensed something as if its dignity had been challenged. It turned into an ancient dragon and swept across the mountains and rivers, suppressing the violent saber. Yi Qinghan frowned. He did not expect the demon dragon saber to be so resistant to the violent saber. This situation was like two children fighting for attention, or more like a battle between demonic beasts fighting for territory. The demon dragon's saber regarded his sea of consciousness as its own territory and would not allow a second saber of the same level to appear. The demon dragon's saber was ruthless and tyrannical. It was on the verge of exploding. They did not give way to each other and directly collided. The violent saber rolled up the sea of consciousness, causing Yi Qinghan's sea of consciousness to become chaotic and almost collapse. Fuck. Yi Qinghan was furious. If his soul was not at the level of a great revered martial artist, it was very likely that he would have been killed by the two weapons fighting for attention. Separate. Yi Qinghan's soul covered the sky and covered the earth, suppressing the violent saber and the demon dragon saber. However, he realized that the demon dragon saber did not listen to his orders and was incomparably tyrannical. The azure dragon saber's body exploded with a terrifying evil aura as if it would not give up until it achieved its goal. It rushed towards the 7-foot violent saber again. Violent saber was not to be outdone. With the support of the saber core, the cold aura tore through the restrictions and rushed towards the demon dragon saber again. The impact caused Yi Qinghan to have a splitting headache. Damned thing. This was the first time Yi Qinghan had encountered such a situation. Although he was somewhat flustered, he was still a great revered martial artist. He quickly calmed down and mobilized the miniature person to take the initiative to attack. The miniature person in the sea of consciousness flickered and turned into a peerless great revered martial artist. It waved its small hand and grabbed at violent saber. Come. A deep voice accompanied by the laws of heaven and earth, filled with an inviolable will, filled with tyrannical power, rushed into the miniature person's hand and became extremely majestic. It was as if the real Yi Qinghan had returned. With violent saber in his hand, he could fight against thousands of Tao sovereigns. How dare a puny demon dragon's saber be so impudent? Yi Qinghan's voice was deep and hoarse. The miniature person also spoke at almost the same time, bringing along a supreme aura to suppress the demon dragon saber. The demon dragon saber's demonic dragon aura stagnated. Its dragon eyes looked down at Yi Qinghan's eyes, as if it was looking into the endless universe. A trace of fear and panic appeared in the dragon's eyes. The origin of heaven and earth is under the violent saber. Endless demonic spirits, those who do not submit will die. Demon dragon, since I dared to buy you, I have the confidence to suppress you. If you dare to be impudent, I will crush the demon dragon saber and completely suppress you. I will forge a new demon dragon saber, and you will no longer be the saber spirit. Yi Qinghan pointed his saber at the demon dragon's head and warned coldly. Roar! The demon dragon was unwilling to submit. It wanted to suppress Yi Qinghan. Its body twisted, but it did not dare to act recklessly. It seems like you are courting death. Yi Qinghan's aura sank. The miniature person raised a saber and suppressed the azure dragon. Violent saber god style.
Whoosh.
The saber split the heavens and the earth. The sea of consciousness, mountains, and rivers lost their vitality. The sea of bitterness surged into the sky. The sharp, violent saber god drew countless figures and suppressed the demon dragon from all directions. Boom! The miniature person drove the violent saber god style and crashed into the demon dragon's body. The friction created towering flames. The entire sea of consciousness seemed to be on the verge of burning. Yi Qinghan wrapped his soul and retreated to the side. The sea of consciousness had completely turned into a battlefield. The saber slashed out, and it seemed to have slashed out a path of reincarnation. The path was filled with endless eerie white bones that could steal one's soul.
Roar.
The demon dragon cried out in pain. Its body flew backward and fell for thousands of meters. Golden divine blood poured out and burned when it came into contact with sparks. The miniature person's aura exploded. It was as if the god of war had descended. Its pair of eyes could steal one's soul, and it contained an indestructible will. It slashed out again. Have a taste of my self-created saber art. 10,000 origin laws are under this saber. This move is called soul snatching. The miniature person held the violent saber god style with both hands. Its aura became sacred and inviolable. Its robe fluttered in the wind. It raised the saber, and the power of heaven and earth was mobilized. The saber's edge flashed, and the sea of consciousness shone brightly. Lightning intersected and blasted out from the depths of the sea of consciousness. Soul snatching with a saber. Slash. The extreme divine dragon step was performed to the limit. Countless figures filled the sea of consciousness. The 7-foot violent saber god style evolved into a 10,000-meter long golden saber. It slashed down from the end of the wilderness. Its aura was indestructible and could destroy everything. The spirit of the demon dragon saber was shocked. It did not dare to face the saber's edge. It turned back into the demon dragon saber and stood in the air obediently. It emitted a holy light and took the initiative to recognize Yi Qinghan as its master. The violent saber god style stood less than an inch away from the demon dragon saber. Golden light shone in all directions. Even if it did not attack the demon dragon saber, it still had the power to steal one's soul. It was worthy of the name soul snatching. Chapter 97. The power of soul snatching was vast and mighty. The little man in the sea of consciousness was majestic. The golden light in his eyes spread out, intimidating everyone. The spirit of the demonic dragon saber submitted and recognized Yi Qinghan as its master. After the soul contract was completed, the man and the saber became one. The two sabers stood side by side in the sea of consciousness, guarding the sea of sufferings. Yi Qinghan's black hair fluttered even though there was no wind. The muscles all over his body returned to normal. His skin was translucent like white jade. Pure and holy energy flowed on the surface of his skin, making him look like a flawless gem. Taking a deep breath, he felt his soul grow stronger instantly. He spread his consciousness out of the cave and found that Yilingyu and Lu Ning had not given up yet. They were like the heavy rain that wanted to drown the Owlfall star. The Qin Emperor was very alert, fearing that one careless mistake would put Yi Qinghan in danger. He was very tired at the moment, his face pale. "My son, take a rest. I will set up a formation. They won't be able to find this place in a short time." Yi Qinghan threw out dozens of mid-grade spiritual crystals and arranged them at the entrance of the cave in a regular pattern. They sealed the cave completely. No matter how powerful their consciousness was, they wouldn't be able to figure out that they were hiding in the mountain. "Teacher, these two are like ghosts. They have been guarding that mountain peak. When can we go back?" The Qin Emperor asked worriedly. "They will leave by tomorrow at the latest. These people are very strong and confident. They won't believe that I have stayed in front of them for a night. They will think that I have escaped from this place and will leave soon," Yi Qinghan said lightly. The Qin Emperor nodded. He believed Yi Qinghan's words without a doubt. Yi Qinghan looked around the cave. It was 6 feet tall and 7 to 8 meters long. There was no spiritual energy. He took out hundreds of mid-grade spiritual crystals and set up a powerful 5th-rank spirit-gathering formation. The spiritual energy in the cave was very dense. The spiritual energy of the mid-grade spiritual crystals almost materialized and kept entering the bodies of the two. Cultivate and meditate first. Completely integrate the secret technique, soul-absorbing roar, into your Zither Tao. I need to condense the Azure Dragon Arm. It might take some time. Don't disturb me if there's nothing important, Yi Qinghan said in a low voice. Okay? The Qin Emperor was quite obedient. He took out his guqin and started playing the heavenly music. His plucking of the guqin was soundless. It was extremely eerie. Yi Qinghan took out the jade brocade box and activated the berserk technique and the ancient demon dragon saber. He was prepared to suppress the divinity emanating from the boundless flood dragon's spine. He removed the seal of the formation and slid it over the jade lid. The golden bone was filled with the patterns of the great Tao. It radiated divinity in all directions, and the aura of jewels and treasures filled the air. The entire cave was dazzlingly bright, and the terrifying pressure was enough to crush a person's bones. A monstrous divine power burst out from Qin Shi Huang's palm, and the divine zither came out on its own, exuding a faint divine aura. It formed a shield of upstanding qi around Qin Shi Huang's small and thin body, blocking the might from the bones of the vast flood dragon and keeping her still. Yi Qinghan's blood vessels expanded, and his vigorous qi and blood were about to gush out. The muscles all over his body twisted and deformed, and his bones gave off cracking sounds. Yi Qinghan was emotionless. Sweat dripped from his forehead like rain. He reached out his hand to grab the bones of the vast flood dragon without using any of his zhenyuan.
Whoosh!
As soon as his right hand touched the bones of the vast flood dragon, his arm, which was as hard as steel, broke open. Blood splattered in all directions, dyeing the golden bone red. The ripples of the patterns became even clearer. Sizzle! The flesh of Yi Qinghan's right arm was quickly shattered by the divinity emitted by the bones of the vast flood dragon, turning into flesh and blood that danced in the air. The divine light of the vast flood dragon spread out, enveloping the eerie white bone. Humph! Yi Qinghan's eyebrows tightened. The piercing pain from his soul did not make him retreat. This was not the most painful moment. When he truly condensed the bones of his right arm, that kind of heart-piercing pain was like 10,000 ants eating away at his heart and bones. Without a terrifying willpower, how could he withstand it? Clink, clink, clink. Yi Qinghan's iron bones had no flesh and blood. He forcefully grabbed the bones of the vast flood dragon, and the bones in his hand melted rapidly. This kind of bone was broken and then condensed again. This cycle of pain caused his face to turn hideous, and the ominous glint in his eyes turned into that of an ancient ferocious beast. Ah! Yi Qinghan let out a low groan. He mobilized his zhenyuan and formed an arm that wrapped around the vast flood dragon's bone. He took the initiative to absorb the divinity and essence within the bone. He absorbed the essence, divinity, and patterns into his right arm, and then urged his vigorous qi and blood to reconstruct his arm. Ka ka ka. The bones were constantly broken and reconstructed, absorbing the essence of the vast flood dragon's bone for his own use. This was the method of condensing the vast flood dragon's arm. It was completely built on self-mutilation and painful self-torture. Without a terrifying willpower, it was absolutely impossible to accomplish. Even if Lu Ning and Yiling Yu had obtained such a bone, they would not use this method to condense their corporeal bodies. They would have to ask their seniors for help. Those who dared to use this method to condense their corporeal bodies were less than 1 in a million people. Those who were willing to use this method to condense their corporeal bodies were mostly people who had a blood feud. They would go further and become stronger. Qin Shi Huang looked at Yi Qinghan and felt his pain and distorted soul. He played the heavenly zither, and the melody turned into the sound of nature. It circled around the cave, gathering and not dissipating. Yi Qinghan's eyes were blurred, and his consciousness was in a mess due to the pain. The effect of condensing the vast flood dragon's arm was getting worse and worse, and the speed was getting slower and slower. He was jolted awake by the melodious sound of the zither. The sound of the zither turned into a supreme precious medicine, healing Yi Qinghan's soul. It then turned into a spiritual force that wrapped around his arm, soothing the piercing pain. The beautiful sound of the zither that was hard to find in this world became the most powerful divine medicine, causing Yi Qinghan's eyes to flash with brilliance. He sped up the circulation of his vital essence, and the speed of condensing the vast flood dragon's arm was much faster. This kind of condensation required the accumulation of time. Even though the vast flood dragon had fallen for thousands of years, the energy it contained was still immeasurable. Outside the cave, dark clouds covered the sky and covered the sun. Heavy rain poured down, as though the dome of heaven had been broken. The wind and rain raged, and the cold air was pressing. The gloomy weather caused all the beasts to return to their nests. The prowess from the depths of the sky intimidated the entire Alfal star, foreshadowing the arrival of a storm that would destroy the world. Time passed slowly, and it was already night time. The sky was already covered by dark clouds, and now it was so dark that one couldn't even see one's fingers. Lu Ning and Yi Lingyu glanced at the mountain unwillingly. They were irritated by the vile weather and could only retreat and return to Flaming Cloud City. Qin Shi Huang felt the two cold auras leaving the mountain. His perfect face revealed a smile that was enough to make the world lose its color. Such a child could only be described as a fairy. Weng. The strings of the zither vibrated and spread out in a melodious manner, turning into specks of divine light that sprinkled down and enveloped Yi Qinghan's corporeal body, reducing his pain by more than half. Yi Qinghan's brows finally relaxed, and his love for Qin Shi Huang increased. She was gentle and kind, treating everyone with gentleness like water, all for the sake of receiving love and care. Such a child would be pitied by the heavens, but unfortunately, she didn't receive the pity of her family. Time was like water, pouring down like a flood from the outside. It poured down the broken cliff, forming a boundless waterfall that flowed down from the cliff. In the middle of the night, Qin Shi Huang's face was pale. He was still playing the zither, wanting to reduce Yi Qinghan's burden. However, he didn't have enough vital essence, and blood was flowing out from the corner of his mouth. He was still unwilling to give up.
Son, rest.
Use the spirit crystals to recover your vital essence and soul. I can handle the rest. Yi Qinghan's voice was hoarse and dull as he said with heartache. Okay. Qin Shi Huang had no choice but to give up playing the zither, and the divine zither returned to his palm. The bone in Yi Qinghan's right palm began to dim. A large amount of essence, veins, and divinity were absorbed by Yi Qinghan. His right arm was formed again, and it gathered countless life essence, glowing like a celestial jade. In the auction house of Flaming Cloud City, the bidding for the last few treasures had reached a climax. Everyone was red in the face, and they wanted to fight. The auction of the 109 treasures continued late into the night. Huang Xiaoming was in pain but happy at the same time. After today's auction, she would count the money until her hands cramped. The last treasure. The finale, the 5th grade Dao Master Sacred Elixir. As long as a 4th step Fate Palace cultivator has it, the probability of passing the Dao Master Lightning Tribulation will increase by 30%. What does 30% mean? With it, you are half a step into the Dao Master realm, and you are only half a step away from a 1,000-year lifespan. Huang Xiaoming's voice was rhythmic and charming. Boom! The railings on the 4th floor were shattered by the Fate Palace cultivators, which showed how excited they were. Yi Lingyu and Lu Ning, who had returned to the auction house, were not interested in the Dao Master Sacred Elixir. As emperors, they were confident that they could survive the Dao Master Lightning Tribulations. Even if they were lacking, the weapons given by their families would help them survive the Lightning Tribulations. Their purpose of returning was to keep an eye on Liu Aotian. It seemed that they had not given up on Yi Qinghan's treasure. However, what they did not know was that Yi Qinghan had already subdued the devil dragon saber and was absorbing the essence of the ancient dragon bone. Dao Master Sacred Elixir, 2 million middle grade. Each bid must be at least 100,000 middle grade. The 5 Fate Palace cultivators on the 4th floor no longer had to hide the price announced by Huang Xiaoming. There was only one sacred elixir, and they could not cooperate. It would belong to whoever got it. 3 million. Lu Potion's face was ferocious. He knew that Lu Outyen had obtained a skill that was better than the Dark Moon technique. Now that he had the sacred elixir, he was determined to enter the Dao Master Realm. 300. Tang Sheng suddenly stood up and was about to raise the price. Suddenly, after a loud bang, the roof of the auction house was smashed through. A broken body was placed in the hall, crushing more than 10 bitter sea cultivators to death.
Hua.
The hall was in a panic, and there was an uproar. The auction house cultivators and Fate Palace cultivators were furious, but when they looked, their faces changed. It's Brother Shuiyu. Isn't he guarding the Demon Valley continent in the Demon Valley? Lu Patian looked at the middle-aged man who was bathed in blood. His ribs were broken, and his right chest was pierced. He could not help but be shocked. Master Shuiyu, a Fate Palace cultivator at the peak of the 3rd step. He was the backbone of the Owl Falling Star. How could the crowd not be shocked when he was severely injured? Demon Valley. Defense. Broken. 6 Fate Palace cultivators have all died. We are ashamed to face Taoist Qinglong. Master Shuiyu's face was ferocious. He spat out a mouthful of blood and fainted. Lu Patian and the others were in a panic. The cultivators in the hall were noisy, and some even shouted in fear. They had lost the dignity of a cultivator. Xianyuan Yu personally came out and put his hand on Master Shuiyu's pulse. He found that his breath was weak, and his flame of life could be extinguished at any time. Without hesitation, he took out a supreme-grade elixir. It contained supreme power, enough to revive the dead. It was priceless, but he did not feel distressed. He directly put it into Master Shuiyu's mouth. It melted in her mouth. Close the city gate. With Flaming Cloud City as the base, build the second line of defense. From today on, no one is allowed to leave Flaming Cloud City. Everyone is under the command of the Fate Palace cultivators to defend against the beasts in the Demon Valley. Xianyuan Yu shouted, "You're tuning in to the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.